Hey everybody, it's Alex here with AJ PTE, and hopefully you guys are having a lovely Friday. Thank you for joining the program today, and we have a lot to cover. I don't know how the weather is where you are here, but it's a beautiful 32 degrees here in Chongqing, China. It's let's do a time check. It's 8:26 p.m. on a Friday evening, and I got AJ here. He's warm where he is. AJ, say hello to the audience.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Yeah, it's really hot today, Alex. We're having a mini heat wave, and there's no air conditioning, as you have in London. There's no air conditioning anywhere.
Oh, wow. Let's say hi to our audience. Great to see Hang here again, as well as the moderators. If you also are joining in from our other platforms, YouTube, of course, Twitter, we are on Twitter. We are also on Facebook, streaming to 1.9 million of our Facebook subscribers here in the iChongqing studio, which I'm at. And hello to anyone that's joining me from the Reporterfy Media. That is my channel as well. And as you guys all know, AJ has PTE a few of those channels, and we'll tell you all about those later. But thank you for coming and joining, everyone. And that's right, everyone, smash that like button. We greatly appreciate that. So tonight's let's get into the swing of things here, AJ. I mean, if you look at China right now, it's one of the first, actually, I would say, meeting of any significance here with Xi Jinping here in the last year. He has now, I guess we've visited Kazakhstan. Is that correct? He's met up with Vladimir Putin. They've chatted. I mean, this is quite a step forward. And for the audience that doesn't know, the big day is coming up on October 16th. And that's a huge day in China. If you don't know what it is, we'll get into it in a bit. AJ, you got some comments on this trip that's been going on here in the last couple of days?
Yeah, so I've been making a video about this actually, and I've been doing a lot of research, and I found out exactly why Xi Jinping has been going to Kazakhstan. He's also has gone to Uzbekistan for the SCO meeting as well. He's also meeting Vladimir Putin there, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So I mean, I want to explain a little bit about Kazakhstan. One of the main reasons, President Xi has gone to Kazakhstan, and a lot of media has not picked up on this because people don't really care about Kazakhstan. But one of the main reasons he's gone there is if you look at the stock market prices, apparently there's only one stock which is doing very well. Every other stock has pretty much crashed. All the tech stocks have crashed. This week has been a very bad week for the US stock market. And I think a lot of companies have lost a lot of money. And but there's only one stock which has gone up. Can you guess which one that is, Alex?
On which market?
On the US market. It's uranium.
Uranium.
Uranium, yes. That's the only stock that's gone up. It's gone up by 20%, highest climb compared to every other stock. So this is the thing, Alex. The world is starting to go nuclear again. So China has announced 4 more nuclear plants to be built. America has also announced a lot of nuclear plants. The Europeans have announced a lot of nuclear plants as well to get away from gas. And what do you need for nuclear plants? You need uranium. And
enriched.
Enriched. And guess which country has got the biggest amount of uranium outside Australia? Kazakhstan. And so this is the main reason President Xi Jinping has gone to Kazakhstan to secure that uranium. They can't get it from Australia because of the trade war they're having with Australia. So the only place they can get it from is Kazakhstan. And this is why Kazakhstan is a very important partner for China, because China has just announced 4 more nuclear plants. They will have 50 nuclear plants ready by this century, and they're going to have 100 by 2050, I believe, or something like that. So they need a lot of uranium. So uranium seems to be the big thing at the moment, with the stock prices going up with uranium. The uranium has actually gone up by 300% compared to last year. So uranium is the next big thing after lithium and all of these other rare earth minerals as well. So Kazakhstan is in a very, very good place. They have all of the uranium mines, so they are very, very lucky when it comes to uranium. So this is one of the main reasons President Xi has gone there. And obviously a lot of you're not going to find any media outlets reporting this, because journalists don't seem to do their jobs nowadays. They, all you see is on the papers. Like on the Mirror, I saw today that President Putin somebody tried to assassinate him last night, and all these ridiculous stories, and they're all caring about how Ukraine has won. They won the war. They beat Russia. That's all they
Yeah,
care about.
it's complicated when you start to see, when you start to get these messages from the Western media. We'll call them the collected countries that I would say are out of touch.
Yep.
And here's another country that has decided that it's a good idea that they're going to join the European Union. And I found this quite comical last night when I was reading the news that Kosovo says that the country will file for an EU membership application by the end of the year. Well, Kosovo, when you're signing up to the European Union, here's what you get. You get higher electricity prices, higher gas prices. You also get to probably be invited eventually into NATO, so you can kiss goodbye 2% of your gross domestic product until eternity. And you get all these wonderful new taxes brought in. And then you get your economy probably squashed to, let's call it, work its way into the European Union. And how they do that, of course, is they bring you on this amazing plan. It's like selling a timeshare condo, to be honest with you, where they sign you up to this membership, make all these amazing amazing proposals, and at the end of the day, you're left holding the bag. Now, what is that bag that you're going to be holding? Debt, lots of it, and a lot of remorse. Now, I'm not saying that some things don't work in the European Union. There were some things that I really enjoyed when I did live in the south of France, Monte Carlo, was the way that you can get around Europe without going through all these passport controls and switching all that currency. That was cool. It was a great idea. It really was a great idea. But what's happened here, we've really seen, aside to these unelected officials that are in part of the European Union, they are not elected, but this unelected official that are controlling these countries, we've really seen a nasty side here, AJ. And this is what really, really bothers me. I didn't think that it was that bad, but man, oh man, it's bad. And Kosovo, no wonder they're angry down there right now. Anyway, comments to add about that.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if you realized the news also yesterday. I heard that Moldova is collapsing, and Moldova is not part of EU, but they have signed up like Ukraine. They are on the waiting
Yeah.
list, and when you're on the waiting list, you are basically on notice. So you have to be on your best behavior. And best behavior, according to the EU, it means that you have to basically follow everything that they say. If they put sanctions on Russia, you got to do those sanctions. If whatever the EU want you to do, you got to do it for like 20 years, 30 years or something. And you completely lose your sovereignty. And this is what Moldova has done. And guess what? They are collapsing. I saw some news articles yesterday that people are protesting. The inflation has gone up by 30 or 40% or something ridiculous, and Moldovans are not very happy at all, because here you have a country who's not part of the EU, is basically following the EU rules and getting themselves shafted because of it.
I'm going to jump in on this since you brought up Moldova, and we've got a lot to cover tonight here. I'm just scrolling through here. You guys can see what I'm doing, and this is cool because I'm just pulled up Transnistria. Now, let me explain a little bit about Transnistria to the audience that's not aware of where I'm going with this. Transnistria is, or depending on who you ask, actually part of, well, we'll say Moldova. It's sandwiched between Moldova and the Ukraine. Now, I'm going to try to zoom in on the map here and show you guys. And I know a lot about this place, a lot. And I'll tell you why I know a lot. A few years back, I would say probably 2006, 2007, I started to recognize that there was a few different altered maps there. And I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit more here. Let's just try to get a little bit closer here to show you guys the map. Maybe that's a bit too close. Go ahead, AJ.
Alex, I just wanted to say a quick hello to everyone that's on the channel. And I want to give a great help to all of the moderators who are here. You guys are really, really great. You guys are always on time. You're very much on schedule all the time. So big shout out to Bridget, Frankie Boy, Zugi, No Way, Taiwan, and Anon. So quite a few of you here, but you guys are always here. You guys are always regulars. I want to give a big shout out for you. Always doing a great job. But yeah, especially Bridget. She's always the first one on here. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, over to you, Alex.
Okay, so let's have a look at this map here. And this is very important. And I want the audience to really understand what this all means. Now, as you can see on the map there, of course, we got Ukraine. It's been modified since this map. As you know, Crimea was annexed by Russia. But you see there where Chisinau, Moldova is. Now, I visited Chisinau, Moldova in 2008. And this war that went on between Moldova and Transnistria there, it's along the Dniester River. Yeah. Now, about 600,000 people live in this region. I visited it 3 times. I've been there 3 times. I've also been there my last time with Patrick Lancaster, who is a crowdfunded independent freelance journalist who is in the Donetsk People's Republic. We visited Transnistria. We were allowed to get in there. And here's how it goes. Moldova tried to hold on to this part when the fall and the collapse of the Soviet Union. And Transnistria was not having anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. They said, forget it. Moldova fought. Transnistria fought. Didn't happen. No. So this region is now being protected by approximately 1,500 Russian troops. Now, the OECD many years ago tried to get this removed and tried to put NATO troops on location there to keep peace. But Russia said there was peace.
Alex, can I
yes.
The map is not how I remembered. The map, last time I checked, it was only a thin line, a very thin strip.
Can you see it in the red there?
Oh, yeah.
See it very thin red there, yeah?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get another map here. Let's get... okay, I'm just quickly going and see if we can find a better map.
Yeah, the red is quite hard to see on the screen, I think.
Okay, let's see if this one works a bit better. Just to let the no, it's going to be hard to let me find one more map here.
Yeah.
See if this one should work. Okay, let's
yeah, that's better. Here. Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit. We're gonna zoom in and make it full screen here, so everybody can
it's not much
it.
Not much of a country, is it, Alex? It's very small. It's just a thin strip.
Well, I mean, they
got the bad end of the bargain.
Well, actually, okay, we're gonna. This will be a really interesting part of the live stream today. So I want you guys to just have a look at this map and see why it's so important today. It's extremely important today. Now, that little orange part of that map, that is Transnistria. 600,000 approximately residents live there. They have their own passports, but not recognized by anybody in the world. But they have their own passports. They have their own currency. They have their own government. They speak Russian. They did not give up this land to Moldova. Now, there has been relatively peace in there, but this part of Moldova is where all the steel manufacturing plants were and still are, and one of the largest at the time military stockpiles for the Russian army. So it may look like just a sliver of land, but look at what it borders. It borders Moldova, which Moldova borders Romania. It's in the Ukraine. Now look where Odessa is on the map.
Oh yeah.
You see where Crimea is?
Yep.
Crimea, Odessa, Odessa, Moldova, no, Odessa, Transnistria. And right there, you have Russia on your doorsteps. Okay. I'm talking about the European Union has Russia on their doorstep. And they're not ready for this. And this area here, they don't have to have an independent vote on this area or anything. They are already there. They want to be part of Russia. In fact, I think it's just a matter of time.
Sure.
Now, this has been fought over. Thousands of people died in this war fighting over this property. But it's not talked about. And I find that remarkable that everybody else is concentrating on all this other parts of the Ukraine, yet in the backyard. And then you see just down there, there's another highlighted piece. I see if my mouse can go there. Do you see this area here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Gagauzia. Gagauzia is also a separate part of Moldova. So Gagauzia falls, Black Sea entrance. Transnistria goes, Odessa, goodbye, Black Sea, Ukraine. Game changer, big game changer.
So if Russia goes all the way to Odessa, then goes all the way to Transnistria.
Yes.
And let's say Russia makes Kherson part of its republic and makes rest of the southern part of Russia, including Odessa. And if they join up to Transnistria, do you think Transnistria will then join the Russian Republic as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So basically,
absolutely.
So basically, Transnistrians, even though now you see a thin line of land, but in the future they will have a huge amount of land. They can go into Ukraine and they could live life happily. They'll have access to the sea and things like that. So the future Transnistrian, if they join up with Russians, they can have a really good life, a really good economy.
And it's not only that. When you say that Moldovians, let's go back. I've been to Moldova 3 or 4 times. Moldova is Europe's poorest country. It's the unloved European country. Romania, basically, the language there in Moldova is basically Romanian, but they've cut that off to basically join the European Union. So when Romania became part of the European Union, Moldova was kind of sandwiched. They don't have any port entry. It's landlocked country. It's very poor. Unfortunately, great place to be. An amazing wine vineyards there. Fantastic place to be. But the problem is just a few years back, there was a bank heist. Over $1 billion taken out from politicians from their banks, from people's deposits. Never returned. Never returned. So you're going to, not you, but the European Union thinks that they can just walk into Moldova and say, hey, guys, everything will be great. Everything will be fine. The Transnistrian people have seen this movie before. So, of course, they are just waiting for that land bridge to happen. It's going to happen. It will happen. It's going to happen because their troops, Russian troops, are waiting on the other side. The Transnistrian army has been training for this for 20 some years. They don't want conflict. They just want to join. And once again, AJ, these are ethnic Russians that are living there. It's a similar situation to the Luhansk and the Donetsk People's Republic, where these are the ethnicity. These people just want to be left alone, get on with their lives, be recognized. But nope, stubborn European Union says absolutely not, can't do it, don't do it, and are probably holding the Moldovan government by the neck, saying, "Don't you guys dare either." But we are in very dark times here, and it won't take much for Moldova, which a lot of its citizens have left the country years ago anyway, to pursue better opportunities in Europe. And this is a sad thing about it. I actually think that this Transnistria is going to be a massive tipping point for Europe and a big, big, big problem. Because if the Moldovans see a great, better life going on for the Transnistrians, with Mother Russia backing them up and giving them what they want, look out. Yes, look out. So that makes for an interesting piece, but nobody in the media is talking about this area, which I'm absolutely flabbergasted. If you land, if you go to Moldova and you land at Chisinau, the capital, nice
Yeah.
city, beautiful city, and if you get into a car, first of all, the car rental agency will say you can't go to Transnistria. If you do, we'll fine you because we'll put GPS on your car. Great, understandable, no problem. I did it anyway. But as you go, as you leave the outskirts of Chisinau, Tiraspol is the capital, and the border city is called Bender. And as you're driving towards Transnistria, as soon as you're out of the city in Chisinau, Moldova, you're stopped by Moldovan authorities, which tell you very clearly, beyond this point, over that bridge, over Bender, on the way to Transnistria, there is no consulate. So at this point, either turn the car back around, go back to Chisinau, or you're on your own. The second stop that you come to, and I don't know if the viewers want to see some of this footage, but I do have it with Patrick Lancaster, me and him at the border of Transnistria. The second stop is the Russians. And they're saying, Privyet, hello, we're here to protect the sovereignty of Transnistria. And then you go another 5 more minutes up the road, and then you're met with the Transnistrian border authorities. But here's the amazing thing, that it may only look like a sliver of land, but that, AJ, is a border that Ukraine is not controlling and
Yep.
Moldova is not controlling. And that border, if connected to Odessa, is easily on the doorsteps of Europe.
Yeah, and I can imagine there's a lot of Russian troops and a lot of Russian equipment and
Yes,
missiles
course.
and tanks. So
Yeah.
it's not going to be easy for the West to take over. And if Russia eventually moves up to Transnistria, they got basically got an army base ready waiting for them. So
Wait,
they
you
don't
mean
need to.
in Transnistria?
Yeah, Transnistria. So
They got a huge army there, massive.
yeah, so they don't need to spend money to set up, camps and
No, it's ready. They've been ready. They're
It's all
training for
ready,
years.
exactly.
Yes.
And yeah, and so that border is ready for them, which means the rest of places like Odessa and stuff will be safe from Ukrainians, because they can't come through weapons can't come through Moldova because of that border. So the only border they need to think about is Poland. So obviously, if they cut off the sea from the south, so the only way the West can send weapons is via Poland, correct? That'll be the only open border.
Yeah, and as the rail cars change, as you get to the European tracks change, and then they have to change over the rail tracks. But Moldova would be an ultimate place for the Americans. I mean, they're to try to set up, but they can't do it.
Yeah,
they cannot do it. They're in a bit of trouble here, and I'm amazed that the media, it's right there in front of them, and they don't want to recognize that, AJ, they got a problem here.
The media is stupid, Alex. I mean, these guys working in the media, they have no brains. They have no independent thought. They just follow what the editor tells them to. The editor wakes up one morning and says, you know what, I want you to write a story about Putin's law, how he's losing in Ukraine. Yes, sir. Or you're fired. Like you've seen Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi one. You got the editor there, and he's like, you're fired. You're fired. And that's exactly how these newspaper editors are like, give me a story. Spider-Man's a bad guy. If you don't make this story, you're fired. So I can imagine like all of these other papers exactly the same way. But also, other reasons they don't talk about it is because they think Ukraine is winning as well. So
Hmm.
if Ukraine is winning, that little border is meaningless. It doesn't really mean anything. But it's only if Ukraine is losing, then they start thinking, "Oh shit, you know, what do we do now?" But they
Yeah,
don't
well,
really think long term.
you can see I'm in the car here, and we're
Oh
driving
yeah,
up to
yeah,
the Transnistrian border. And if you watch
yeah,
real close, you'll see the Russian tank here that is protecting. Let's see which border stop this one is. This is Patrick and I stopped at the we'll call it the unrecognized country of Transnistria, but that's the border patrol there. And you'll see just in, I was trying to kind of keep my camera a bit private there, guys, but you'll see the soldiers just be behind the back plate of the glass there. Patrick's
yeah.
talking to him, telling them what we're doing, where we're going, and stuff like that. And yeah, they had a bit of questions to ask, but they are the border patrol are in armored wear. It's very evident that they are ready. If anyone is ready for combat, it's this little unheard of, unrecognized country of Transnistria. Trust me. This is definitely one small unheard of nation, but it's going to be all over the media here. I would say probably in the next few months. So there, we're just leaving the border there behind us, and uh, yeah, that's it. I mean, and then we roll into we roll into to Transnistria. I'll see if I can pull up one more clip here, and then we'll move on there. I'm showing my papers because they won't stamp your passport when you're going into Transnistria. That's the unfortunate thing. It would have been nice to have my passport stamped, but they can't do it. So I think for the viewers, that's something that you really would like to see in life if you can, if you ever are in this area of the world. It is quite an amazing time to actually visit it. I mean, it's um I didn't think that it would be something that I ever thought would be important in modern day, like today, but it is. Here, if you walk around, you guys can see my footage here. And thank you, Nicole, for saying hello, and everyone from the iChongqing audience. This is in the center of Tiraspol. There, you will see you see that red and green. That's the color of their flag. They do fly the Russian flag there as well. That's a tank, a memorable tank in the center of the city. And this is a war memorial in the center of the city. But these guys are ready. I asked them, I said, when was the last fighting here? And they said, we're on pause, but we're ready at any time. This is a heavily um, fortified, we'll call it country, depending on who you're asking once again. But it's amazing. And then at the end there is a war memorial for all the soldiers that has fought, and you can see the writing there. It's in Russian as well, and they refer to it as Pridnestrovy Moldavska Republika. So PMR is the short form. But I just wanted to tell you guys that this is going to play a major role here in the next few months. You guys will hear more about this. I did walk around the street there a bit, and here I am at the end here. You'll see this is their national flag here, and I'm just picking up Patrick, and we enjoyed the day there. It was a good time. So with that having been said, I just want to let the viewers understand that Russia, when it comes to this type of combat, having having one father who was in the military, whose father was also in the military, so a father and a grandfather who's in the military. I have to tell you that it's always been, I think, since day one here, Russia's strategy to drag this out into October, November, and December. And we are actually starting to see things show up on the financial markets, which are definitely something to be concerned about. We're going to pivot soon here to China opening. But I want to talk about AJ. We got some things that we were talking about prior to the show here. Natural gas once again is spiking. Interest rates are spiking. Energy bills are spiking. Grocery prices did not cool off. Inflation continues to spike. 177-point drop on the S&P 500 index a few days ago, followed by another red down day. And I think we have the futures market also telling us that yes, it's going to be ugly. It's getting right now, the Dow futures, just so you guys know, are down 337 points, or 45 points on the future of the S&P. Whew. This is where are we going with this, AJ? Where's this market going?
I think Meta is going down, Alex. I think Meta is going to be the big name that's going to be hit really big time, because I think Meta's been hit really hard last few days. Meta is Facebook, for those of you who don't know. They've changed their names, so that's not looking good. Only stocks that seem to be doing well is the energy stuff. That's gas, oil, coal, uranium, anything to do with energy or anything to do with food, agriculture seems to be doing well.
And Ursula wants the energy companies to give all the profits back and become non-profit. I love it. It's hilarious.
She thinks she's running a communist country. There you have the West saying, "Oh, this is communism. This is what they do." But this is the West acting like a communist country, and then you have Russia and China, who are actually going away from communism, who are not acting like communists. But you have the West acting like communists. They feel like they can take profits of companies. They can lock down people. They can, stop people from protesting. It's it's crazy, Alex, how things have turned. They're blocking people on the internet who have alternative views. They shut people down for free speech. They're arresting people, because I think there's one particular guy who was heckling Prince Andrew.
Oh yeah.
In Scotland, he got arrested. He got arrested.
Oh no! Really?
You have no free speech anymore. It's crazy in England. You say anything against the narrative or anything that's a minority, you get arrested.
Yeah, my concerns has always been that the world, when I still hear people, and got to remember, guys, I'm living in China here, big city, Chongqing. Big country. When people keep saying, COVID is past, the world's open now, it's not open, guys. It's still not open. If you're in Thailand and you're running hotels, it's not open. You're only receiving 7 million tourists a year when you received 62 million in the good old days. It's not open. China's not open. Businessmen aren't traveling. Businesswomen aren't traveling. The Canton Fair that happens every year in Guangzhou, that major deals are done, hasn't happened in years. It hasn't been open to these salespeople. There's been new technology that hasn't even been able to be introduced to the world here. We had the Smart China Expo here a few weeks back here in Chongqing, a major event. Unfortunately, had to be online. And it's hard to do business online. I mean, it's great and all and stuff like that. Working from home can be convenient, especially during a pandemic. And for all those that kept their job, my hat's off to you and congratulations. But the problem here is China is not open. And that brings us up to the topic today. There is a silver lining here. And in the last couple of weeks here, some Chinese embassies have been contacted that they are now opening up the universities to welcome back the students back into China. And we're hearing approximately 500,000 students seemingly are eligible to return to China. So that is good news if you're a student that was caught out or been outside of China. Same thing is that happened to other countries like Australia, who closed its borders and left its international paying students having to resort to online studies. Now, when we start to see universities welcoming back students, when we start to see what used to be 21 or 28-day quarantine move down to 21, then move down to 14, then move down to 10, and some cities now in China are moved down to 7. you know where we're going with this. And I think it's not going to be, hello, everybody, we're wide open. It's, hello, everybody, we're starting to open. And AJ, I just want to kind of throw a scenario out to you. In one of the models that I think worked well for bringing back people into countries was the Thailand model. And what Thailand did, what's much different to China, when I came back to China here, I had to go into quarantine for 21 days in hotel quarantine. They call it hotel, but it is not really a hotel. It is a heavily fortified building. It is operated by experienced medical professionals that probably have on-site. Well, they did have on-site testing when I was there, right down to, you can't bring your own food in. You can't really order your own food. It's got to be approved. I mean, even if you needed an adapter for your computer, these have all got to be approved. And the person running that is not a hotel manager. He is someone from the government that is taking great responsibility from bringing people into the country. It's kind of like a closed loop. Now, I understand that for some people that really wanted to get back in here or had obligations or had family members and stuff like that, that came in for whatever reason in the last couple of years, it's been not the easiest way to get here. And it's been rather hard on families out there. I get that. And I understand that. Hey, I was a year without my wife here. But when the, we'll call it quarantine, has been lowered now to 7, I think Hang put something up, 7+3, 3 at home sometimes. Now we're talking. But where I would like to see the model, where I think it could work, is what Thailand did is they said, fine, during pandemic, if you want to come to Thailand, okay, we're not necessarily going to close the door, but we're going to make it a little bit more costly, B, it's going to be very safe, and C, you're going to get here. So what the Thailand model is they had verified and certified hotels in Thailand. For example, nice hotels, the St. Regis, the Marriott chain, they became hotels that were pretty much would bring in visa people, or tourists, or people that wanted to come back, see their family, or people that needed to get back for medical reasons or school or whatever. They welcomed them back, but it was on their own dime, and you could very easily select the hotel that you wanted to stay at for 2 weeks. But there were restrictions. Now the restrictions were, okay, you have to get a COVID test before you come on the airplane. And once you land, you're going to have to go into a sealed vehicle, and you're off to a hotel of your choice, of your budget. Some as cheap as $600 for 2 weeks, some as expensive as a couple $1,000, depending on what luxury you wanted. And then eventually they moved it to more resorts where you could stay on the location and stuff like that. And that's where I hope that China is going to follow this approach, where they go to various hotel chains. And if there's a country that can pull this off, this is China, okay? And they could go to the hotel chains and say, right, the government's going to get out of the way on what they do now, where we'll call them COVID hotels now, but they're not. They're more of protected buildings to bring people into the country safe. I get it, with the dynamic zero COVID policy. I totally get it, totally understand it, and totally respect it. I feel safe here. I get it. But if the government wants to open up here, there is businesses, especially on the international size, that need to start filling up these hotels because they've had a couple of years of really tough times. So and China can do this, if they get this and they meet these business hotels, they meet with the government and says, right, let's put daily targets in place. Let's give the person a selection. Let's make this easy but safe. Let's go. And I think that will be, I'm hoping, the model, because we're starting to kind of see that in Hong Kong happen here. And I think Hong Kong and Macau will probably be, we'll call them the first cities to pretty much, I think China is going to open to with relatively less restrictions. So I think you're going to see a lot of family reunions, maybe in Hong Kong for a few days, and whoever lives in China comes back to China, and whoever wants to come into Hong Kong from another country they can do that quite easy with short quarantine. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really good actually. I mean, I can only give you experience in UK. In UK, we basically have COVID hotels, and these are ordinary hotels like
Hmm.
Holiday Inn. It can be any hotel chain. It'd probably be the cheapest ones. And the receptionists, they're not really trained to keep people in their rooms. And, it's a kind of freedom. If people need to get
Mm,
out and get food or go to the takeaway or go to the supermarket, they allow them. So people are allowed to get out their rooms, go out, go do some shopping, come back. The thing is, most people go out, they never come back till the till the late evenings. And these hotel guests, they're not trained to,
mm,
basically keep people in their rooms. They're not. They're just hotel staff. They'll ask you the question, "Where have you been?" "Oh, I've just been shopping." "Oh, okay, that's fine." So it's not really enforced in UK. And
mm,
also, it's one rule for us, another rule for the politicians, because we used to have a lot of events in UK, like the G7, for example. So you have Biden coming in, you have all of these world leaders coming in. None of them go through any checks or lockdowns, or
hmm.
they go straight into the meeting, shake hands, they hug each other. I mean, there's pictures everywhere in the G7 when it was held in UK.
Right.
You had Macron hugging Biden, Biden hugging Boris. And these guys, they didn't even have any lockdowns, and pictures are all over the internet, all over the papers. And it's like one rule for them and another rule for the rest of us, really. And I just don't
Mm,
think it's fair at all. And as you know, with Boris having parties when everyone else is in lockdown, so it wouldn't surprise me that if you're an elite or if you're a
yeah.
world leader, you basically don't need to follow the rules, and everyone else gets fined, everyone else gets you know I think it's good in China. The fact is, you're doing it all. Everyone needs to follow the same rules.
Yeah.
It's not one rule for one, another rule for somebody else. I think with rules, you got to enforce them. Everyone needs to follow it. Your leaders need to be able to follow it as well. um
I've got I've got this comment that I brought up here on the channel for everyone to see. It says, "How can students afford that? They are students." You see, some of the packages here that are offered, and I'll give you an idea. Um, if when I came to the country for 2 weeks, including my food, it was 3,000 RMB. That's about $500. Okay, for 2 weeks. Now that is manageable for a student. You got to remember that's accommodations for a couple of weeks, and that's food. Nothing's free anywhere when you're doing anything, but that is possible. And I think that the government, and I'm hoping that they follow, as MP said here in our chat here, an SHA type arrangement should work for China. That's where I was talking about approved hotels, secure. I'm not sure what it is. If MP, you can put that up there, what the full terminology SHA means, but in Thailand, it seemed to work. It worked to the point where everybody says, "Okay, guys, you're opening the borders. Right? Enough of these SHAs." But it also helped the hospitality industry. It was quite clever. It helped the hospitality industry to also really understand um, how to stay, conscious about COVID during the really heated times in Thailand there. I mean, it was getting out of control, as many as 50,000 cases a day there. But it also trained the staff how important this was, the cleanliness. It helped the hotels, use these contact tracing apps. It helped the hotels implement it. I just stayed at a hotel last weekend called the Regent Hotel here in Chongqing. You are not getting in that door with a code that's anything different than the color green. You're not going to get in that door. And that staff then understands the responsibility about it. And once again, that is also something that, as you said, AJ, there's one rule for others and there's another rule for yourself, and it changes. That's not the case here in China. And that's why I'm saying that if they get together with a certain hotel association here, these hotels are going to bend over backwards. They're going to say, they haven't seen guests in a long time. They're going to say, absolutely, let's go. What can we do? But everything is all in place. It's all in place. The contact tracing apps are in place. So it's just a matter of making sure that these hotels are safer and implementing it. And I think we're getting there. I feel that we're getting there. Chengdu just came out, I think, this weekend. They're coming off of their small lockdown there for a few weeks. No one likes lockdowns. But once again, let's look at this from numbers standpoint. If China wasn't to do something and have the let it rip policy, and we followed the Western countries' mathematical equation, it would have turned out to be approximately 5 million deaths here and anywhere from 600 to 800 million people infected first, then maybe second time. And how many of those are long COVID? China has played the go slow route. Some of these virus strains are less deadly, thank God. And maybe, just maybe, this thing is going to slowly weaken itself out here over time if it's done right. This isn't a country that you can mess around with. And I'm talking about from, not as an individual person walking around here being irresponsible. Is it you got 1.5 billion people here, AJ. You just can't be irresponsible. I mean, a lot of other people out there just don't get it. That when we say, yeah, we take 1 or 2 COVID tests a week. Oh, but isn't that a bit extreme? Not really. When I can actually get a COVID test faster than a pack of bubble gum, it's not a big deal. Oh, but you have to, Alex, you got to use a contact tracing app when you go to the shopping mall. Okay. Well, doesn't Google ping your phone every 10 steps that you walk anywhere anyway? Oh, but this and that. I don't know. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon either. But I think I have a feeling here that we're getting we're taking closer steps each day. Let's talk about, since we're talking about students being allowed back in China, and I'm going to pull that story up for everybody here. Let's talk about something that's very interesting. It's almost payback time, I would say. And I've got your link here in the back that I'm going to put up, AJ. Do you want me to do it now, or?
Yeah, let's do it now.
Okay,
It's a bit,
okay.
it's quite funny because
Right.
as we were talking about all of these people not following rules, you have the Prime Minister of India, Modi, when he was at COP26, he was basically hugging anyone and everyone. And the funny thing is just he was at one point he was hugging the UN guy. I think his name's Guterres,
Yeah.
and he did not like that at all. And this was at a time when India was having severe COVID issues. There were thousands of people dying per day. And then Modi comes along and he's just hugging everyone. He didn't go for any he wasn't going for any lockdowns or quarantine. He just landed on COP26 and he was just having his thing where he was just hugging all of the world leaders. And all I remember is seeing all of these articles in all the British papers saying, this Indian guy is going around spreading all the COVID to all the white people. I just thought it was so funny.
Oh man. Oh, that you could just see the expression, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there's a clip of it somewhere in the in here in the Daily Mail, and I just found it absolutely hilarious. I'll show you the clip if anyone wants
Yeah,
to see.
India
I think
really got hammered. It
they
got
got hammered,
hammered.
yeah. And then Modi comes along without any quarantine. He's just going around hugging all the world leaders. I just thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Oh man. Oh,
Yeah.
that is hilarious. Oh, that's funny. Um, another thing that I actually find very ironic is the American universities here, who they're very transparent about this. They charge their international students almost 100% markup. If you're a student coming from China to Yale or anything like that, you're paying double the tuition fee. It's a fact. That's what they say. It's a fact. Yeah, well, for that spot, for us to give up a domestic spot for an international student, it's double. Now, do you really think, AJ, that these universities are saying, well, we've given up a spot for a domestic student, so, we got to charge double? That sounds like a nightclub. you know hey, if you're not on the member list, you can get in here, but it's going to cost double. But here's where it's backfired. It's backfired by enrollment
Yep.
from China has massively dropped, and there are major major holes in the balance sheets here for these universities that cannot, even with domestic students, cannot make up those losses, because unless they massively increase the amount of students, which will upset other people, of course, they got a major hole here. And China is now looking inward to their universities and saying, wait a minute, our universities are pretty damn good here.
Yep.
Um, our students are coming back to work here in the country. China's standing up and their students are saying, wait a minute, okay, I was educated in X, Y, or Z university, but there's a fly in here, sorry. Why not go back to my motherland and see if I can actually get a job in China? Not bad. And I thought, many people have managed to do that in China here in the last, I think, couple of years. It's showing us that this zero COVID, or we'll call it what Hang is politely corrected us to follow the correct pronunciation, the dynamic COVID-19 policy. Thank you, Hang, for that. That it's COVID's really stopped the musical chairs, AJ, when you think about it, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I was just talking to you just before the show how India has overtaken China for the biggest number of students in the UK. So this is really bad news for the UK for many reasons. So China pays, Chinese students come into UK, they pay a lot of money, obviously, for the tuition fees, but people don't, people underestimate, the Chinese students, what they do to the economy. They go around, they go shopping, they buy really expensive designer clothes, for example. They put billions and billions of pounds into the British economy. Um, Alex, are you there? Or
Yes,
oh
I'm
yeah,
here. Yeah.
yeah. So and they put billions and billions of pounds of money to the UK economy. Um, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything bad about Indian students, but Indian students do not do that. They do not go buying designer clothes and stuff like that, because India generally is much more poorer than China at the moment. So it's obvious that Chinese students will spend more, because Chinese students are so much more richer than Indian students. And people underestimate that, what Chinese students do to the economy and do for these universities. And these universities make a lot of money through Chinese students, through their, the courses and stuff. And if they don't have the Chinese students, these universities do not make money, they start losing money. And it's not good for the British economy. And yeah, like you said, it's not just in Britain. Also, Chinese students are not going into Australia, and also the USA has counted a big loss of Chinese students in their universities as well. And you're right. I think China has looked at everything last few years, and they said, you know what, we're going to start investing in our own universities. And you can see a lot of universities have gained a lot of funding now from the government. They are starting to get bigger, and they're starting up new universities in new towns, like in Zhongyang, for example, and Ordos, and some many good universities and schools in those new cities that they are building. So I think there'll be less of a need for Chinese students to go abroad. I think before, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Alex, all Chinese students loved to go to America. They loved to go to UK. They were actually really excited about it. But now, with all of these geopolitics going on, a lot of these students are like, oh no, I don't think we want to go there anymore. And even if they want to go there, the parents are going to be stopping them. Parents are going to be like, no way you're going to USA, or no way you're going to UK. I'm not paying for it. If you go there, then you're on your own. You know, there's a lot of students who they just don't want to go there anymore. There's other better options out there. And then you look at other countries which are friendly to China, and for example, Hungary is getting a huge influx of Chinese students. They're getting a huge amount of Chinese students there. And other countries who are friendly towards China as well, they're getting a huge amounts of Chinese students in those countries. It just pays to be friendly. To at the end of the day, it's also Britain as well. Britain is also stopping a lot of visas as well, Chinese visas. I think the USA has been doing it for years. When Trump was around, there was a block on Chinese visas at the time, and the West. I mean, the whole world can see that what they're doing to Russia, what they've been doing to China. Finally, it's going to hit them where it hurts. These universities are not going to be making the money. All of this money they could have had in the economy is starting to go down. Universities in China will start improving because Chinese students will rather stay at home than go abroad and take a risk. Because a lot of students also used to get, when COVID was around, they used to get beaten up. There was a huge violence against Asians in America. There was a huge amounts of violence against Asians in UK. And one of my good friends, he actually got beaten up, and he was left in a coma. I mean, he's okay now, but he got absolutely beaten up just because he was Chinese, and
That's terrible.
yeah, and all of that news actually goes unreported in the UK and even in USA, where they don't report that kind of news because they don't, they know it's happening, but they don't want to basically admit to it. It's just pure racism. It's blaming Chinese for the COVID. Obviously, it started with Trump. When he was started to be really racist towards all the Chinese, he was saying, "Oh, this China flu," he was calling it Kung flu, and rest of America started, blaming the Chinese. I mean, even now, America is not very safe for Chinese people because there's still a lot of violence going on against Asians. In UK, it's calmed down a bit now because COVID is over. So, but
I wanted to bring up something, and since you're on the story about students feeling safe, and I'm not going to name names, but there are various channels out there that do spread this type of hate. They do very well know what the hell they are doing and how irresponsible they are. Eventually, what happens in situations like this, when people continue to bang on it, some do it for profit. Oh, yes, some do it for profit. The rainy day will come, and it will eventually come back to that individual or individuals that spread this kind of hate, spread this kind of violence towards these individuals, whether they're students or communities around the world. That hate will always come back like a boomerang and bite you in the ass. And that's what really bothers me, that there are channels out there that benefit, make profit for it, whatever their grievances are against individuals or whatever it is, even the government. But those individuals, trust me, it happens. Can you imagine this, AJ? That they say, technically, from a psychological standpoint, that one, and maybe if we have some people that are more experienced or educated, maybe in psychology, that let's call it 1 in 100 people might have a mental health disorder of some sort. Okay. But let's say maybe they have it, could be people, maybe 1 in 100 have anger, or maybe they don't know how to deal with certain things. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay, guys. And let's say you have a following, whether you're a news channel or you're a content creator that has millions of followers. It's only going to take one of those followers that you have indoctrinated for them to go out and do something very, very bad and very, very deadly and tag your name to it. And that is going to be the end of those type of people or those type of channels or those type of companies or those types of NGOs or those types of organizations that spread that kind of hate into the Asian community. All it's going to take is an @ sign that this person did this and made me do this, and that is over. So I find it really pathetic and really upsetting to hear that your friend was attacked, but also I've had conversations with local Chinese people here that have told me directly that other outlets, other content creators, they can name that have caused a tremendous amount of hate and made them feel massively insecure on countries like ours, like United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia. Sorry, guys, that ain't going to work anymore. And I suggest you change your business model if you're in the business of hate, because it's going to come on your doorstep very soon and you're going to be held responsible for it. Comments, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I know which channels you are talking about, and I'm sure most of the viewers know as well. But I look at YouTube. YouTube doesn't do anything for these channels. All they do is promote it, And I just feel like these channels that promote hate, they get sent out, and they now have millions and millions of subscribers. They get millions of views, and channels like that don't get suppressed. They get pushed out by YouTube. However, if there's channels like you or me, Alex, and we speak the truth, we get suppressed. We get, we get kind of, we're not sent out to people. And I think it's just coming from the top, to be honest, and Alex, it's just coming from Google, executives at Google. They decide what goes in, what goes out. For example, a lot of my videos get demonetized, and you got people like Jackson Hinkle and many others who get who get kicked out of YouTube. They have there's a thing called Google AdSense where we all get paid, and even though the adverts are shown in YouTube, by the time it gets to Google AdSense for you to get paid, there's a big sign on Google AdSense saying if you talk about Ukraine or if you talk about the war or anything we don't like, then we have the power to basically not pay you because of we don't want anyone profiteering from Ukraine and stuff. So which is fine, but then you see all of these channels who are talking lies about Ukraine. I mean, there's huge channels out there. I'm talking about Visual Politic and many other channels out there who've got millions of subscribers. They're fine because they go along with the narrative. So as long as they go along with the narrative, they're safe. They're doing a job for the governments, and they're going along with the narratives. But any channels like us, like me, you, Jackson, or any other people who spread the truth, they will use that excuse of, oh, you're talking about the war in Ukraine, you're profiteering from it, so we're not going to pay you. So even though the adverts are being shown on YouTube, by the time they go to Google AdSense, they have the power to override what YouTubers adverts have done, and because they pay you, they look at your videos and they have the final decision whether to pay you or not. And I think a lot of me as well as a lot of other channels have the same problem. So people people think that YouTubers make a lot of money. It's not the case at all. If you speak the truth, you get suppressed. You get your channel gets shadow banned. You're basically any adverts later on you don't get paid by Google AdSense. They decide not to pay you because you talk about Ukraine. So that's the problem, Alex. And then you got people who are spreading hate and people who are spreading violence, their channels get pushed out. They got millions of views. I just don't find it fair at all. I just don't find
AJ, I understand how you're feeling about that, but I'm going to tell you again that that old saying that our parents told us: "What goes around comes around." It will come around.
yeah.
It will come around. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, whatever. Guys like me are not, going off the air either. The good news is there are other websites that are now picking up traction. Rumble is going public on the stock exchange through a special purpose acquisition, and that's good news. It's not going to be a YouTube replacement, but we're seeing some promising numbers on there. But once again,
Yeah, but
AJ,
Rumble
you're part of.
is still an
Yes, go ahead.
American company, and I think there will come a time when Rumble becomes very big, and the
Hmm.
feds will start knocking on the Rumble
Sure.
executives' doors, and they'll start knocking on those doors and say, "Look, you need to do what YouTube is doing. You need to." I'm sure pretty soon, once they go public, the feds will be knocking on Rumble's door, and there will be
Okay.
control because it's still an American company. That's the thing. If
So
you're an
here,
American,
here,
sorry, go on.
AJ, I agree with you on this. Okay, I agree with you that money talks, and so does a board of a public company talk too. And yeah,
Yeah,
they might
yeah.
be able to convince the Rumble guy to change. But for most part, right now, it's cool sailing, and that's the good news. But there is a silver lining again to this conversation in regards to these platforms. There is wonderful platforms where I live right now, right here in China. I've amassed almost 650,000 followers here in China through my various sites, whether they're Bilibili, Douyin, or let's say Tuchao, Sequa, you name it. I have a fantastic following. Now, here's the difference. People ask me, well, what's the difference between the China platforms and God, this fly is annoying. What's the difference between these China platforms and these American platforms and stuff like that? People ask me this question. They said, explain it. The biggest difference, and I can tell you, even though I have maybe 5 times more followers, I have about 115,000 now on YouTube and about 650K to 700K in China. Here's the biggest difference. If somebody has an issue with some of my content in China, they have a good opinion and, well, let's just say, hey, maybe you should have shown this, or maybe next time you're in the city, I would have been nicer if you showed some food, or why don't you speak a little bit more China? I get all that. Criticism is good criticism. But the difference between my China platforms and my North American platforms is it's death threats. Myself and my family have experienced a fair amount of them. And I know exactly when people say, well, why would somebody want to do that? And I go back to that equation again, where I say where certain channels, certain organizations, certain individuals that have subscribers into the multi hundreds of thousands to maybe millions spread hate. And when they come across my channel and they see me talking my experience about China, some of them can't handle that. And I think, when I first started coping with these aggressive subscribers, well, I don't think they were subscribers. I would think they're more of, I don't have a name for them. But when you start to see how toxic and angry these people are, they don't wake up that way. They are indoctrinated by certain channels that spread that. So normally, if you're going to come to my channel and you're going to spread some nasty stuff like that, you're probably going to be, your comments probably going to be pinned to the top, and I'm going to let my viewers deal with those individuals instead of myself, because I think, AJ, you get your fair share of, call them haters. They don't really bother me. What bothers me is when they do something very dangerous to a minority or someone in their country that they just rely on other people's content to get an understanding. And once again, I'm going to say that there are other channels out there that are very anti-Asian, anti-China. And when they teach these young minds, got to remember, young kids can come on YouTube.
Mm.
And when they start to see these individuals that are believable, or organizations starting to spread this, eventually that individual is either A, going to say this is bullshit, or maybe I should subscribe because this guy I think is telling, or this girl I think is telling the truth. And those little young minds sometimes don't know how to deal with that. If you can convince a 6 or 8-year-old that a fat man can fly on Christmas Eve and drop gifts down a chimney, and you believe that, well, then they can believe a lot of the bullshit that's coming out of these guys' mouth, which is absolutely, or girls, or organizations. I just don't know how certain individuals can sleep at night when they damn well know that they are a direct link to these attacks that happen around the world. And they can sit back and say, well, I'm immune. I didn't do anything. I'm just giving my opinion. I don't like this, but I like these people. No, that's going to come to a crashing end. And that is going to be someone somewhere is going to get hurt. And it's the arrows are going to come back to that person. And I just, that's the dangerous part about this, AJ. We look at it from other aspects where I'm looking at it from the anti-China, where these attacks happen. These university students, I can't tell you how many stories I've told you of students that have come back from other parts of the world that were just like, holy cow, I don't think I'm going to go through that again. It's in the TV stations. It's, look at the garbage that they're pumping on the televisions today. People believe it. They believe it. Of course they believe it.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
I have to tell you this story, Alex. You're not going to believe this, but this was a few months ago, and it was really, really hot, and kids were playing with water guns. And you know how you see kids playing with water guns. So I was walking along. I was in Manchester at the time, and there was a lot of kids playing around me. And one particular kid, he had a water gun, and he was playing with his brother or something. I think he was about 10 years old. And he was shouting out, "You're the Russians! You're the Russians! I'm the Azov! I'm the Azov!" And so he was basically insinuating that the Russians were the bad guys, and he was the good guy. He was Azov, basically shooting all the Russians.
Stereotypes, immediate.
And the British media has basically made the Azov sound like they're heroes or some sort, and now all of these kids, now they want to become Azovs, and they think the Azovs are heroes. They think the Azovs are like Rambos and stuff, and that's the thing. These kids are growing up with that kind of mentality, and that's what the media does to kids. They just feed them with false information, brainwashes them. And it was quite sad to kind of see that, to be honest, Alex. And
that's irresponsible.
Yeah.
Where is the credibility and the integrity of these journalists anymore? Are they standing behind cameras like this now? Are we the journalists? Are we the content creators that are trying to, at least, maybe we don't always get it right, I'll admit to that. But are we now the people that people are trusting? Are the Patrick Lancasters, the other, like, I'm just naming Patrick because we're on this topic, but if we go to other parts of the world and try to get an opinion, I'll give you an example. If I wanted to find out something in United States, I'd probably go to Cyrus Jansen's channel and watch it. If I wanted to go to somewhere in other parts of the world, I can name, the Left Lens, Danny. He's great in the United States of America. Put out great information. If I wanted to find out what's Italy, I'd go to Michela Ponte's channel. I mean, all these channels are great. They're on the ground. They're people that are giving you, facts. why are we even turning on these TV
Yeah.
channels anymore?
The
I don't know
problem,
why.
yeah, the problem we have, Alex, is majority of the world are normies. They don't go to YouTube. They don't spend their time looking for the truth. They just eat up what the media tells them, what the social media tell them. They just eat it up because
Mm,
that's what they do. And majority of the people are normies, and probably 1% actually go onto YouTube, go onto channels such as the ones you've suggested. But majority don't. Majority have only two sources of information: either it's the media or social media, and they just
mm,
normally go. They just get brainwashed with that. So 90. If you look at the population of the world, you know it's I think 6-7 billion. I can't remember the exact figures now. How big it's gone, but it's getting bigger obviously every year. And but on YouTube, you'll be lucky to get say 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 maybe on those channels. So it's a very
mhm.
small percentage. You probably say 0.1%. So yeah, things are not looking good, Alex. I mean, most of the normies are just going to eat up what the media tells them to. And that's
Yeah,
all.
and it's pretty amazing that that these platforms. I mean, you're so right, AJ, when you're going on about they allow and they promote some of these other channels. I mean, we all got that email from YouTube that months ago. All of us, most of us as content creators got an email that basically read like this: um, "Don't say anything different on what's going on in the mainstream media about what's going on in the Ukraine. Don't mention this person's name that runs or is, we'll call it the guy in control down there. We won't use his name. And if you do, your channel will be gone. So have a nice day." and that's pretty much what it is. And in a way, we look at that as, I mean, we've all worked hard. I've worked 3 years of my life to get my channel going. You've been working a long time. Um, YouTube, do we do it for the money? Nice try. Not even close. It covers my internet bill and maybe upgrading my drones once every couple of years. But no, that's not the goal here. The goal here is I wanted to give a voice to the world about China being here. Yeah, member of my family. They, even when I'm showing them parts of China, they still can't believe it. And my sister, one of my sisters, have three of them, is a school teacher. And last time I was in Canada, I sat down and at dinner we were kind of there, not a family reunion, but there was quite a few people there. And it doesn't take long for, if you just sit quietly at a table and you're listening to in-laws talk. Well, if there's foreigners at the table or people that have been traveling or other parts of the world, you can be rest assured that somebody's sitting there waiting to unload an opinion. And it was amazing that one of my brother-in-laws brought up to me about China and was asking me, what is your obsession with a country that oppresses the people? I'm pretty sure the audience that's watching tonight uh, can be rest assured that I didn't keep my mouth shut. I I had to sit there, and even though my wife is a very wonderful lady that likes to keep the peace all the time, was trying to say to me, "Can we kind of keep it down tonight? I know you're going to respond to that, but do it nicely." Well, this went on for probably about an hour, and I wasn't backing down from it. But if at any time that I can get the opportunity to try to at least give a different opinion or a different angle to someone about what either they've been indoctrinated with or whatever they've been watching that I categorically see is either A, wrong, or B, just completely wrong. Because if you don't, and you have that opportunity and you keep your mouth shut and you don't say anything about it, well, that person's going to go tell another person, then tell another person, and tell another person. And we have to kind of do what we can, as a community here on YouTube, but also as individuals that, enjoy. I've been invited to this country. I got a visa here. It's not a privilege for Canadians to, pardon me, it is a privilege for Canadians to come and actually be here. It's a privilege. Now, of course, people would say, oh, but why don't you say this? And why don't you say that? Well, I don't need to, and I don't feel the need to say anything, but it's a very big misunderstanding. And from a Canadian standpoint here in China, it's relatively a different time for Canadians to be living here. I think that China has been amazing here over the last few years on dealing with a massive crisis that has rocked the world. And I think if any country is going to come out of this at least unscathed, it's going to be China. And I say that because people here, even though the country is kind of blocked off from the rest of the world, things are still going here, AJ. Businesses are still thriving. Factories are still doing well. Trade deficits are, skyrocketing. Things are moving.
By the way, Alex, isn't this week when China was supposed to collapse? When all of these YouTubers were saying 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. I'm sure it's this week is the deadline when China is supposed to collapse. Well, how stupid do these YouTubers feel now?
And I wonder if they took down the videos. Let's just see if they took down the videos. I'm going to keep chatting. I'm going to just see if they did.
And also, how stupid are the people who actually view those videos, comment saying, yeah, they're getting excited. Yeah, they're getting, yeah, China's going to collapse. Yeah, let's celebrate. How stupid do these guys feel right now? I just think that all of this clickbait stuff, it's what gets you the subscribers. It's what gets you kind of the money. I think these guys are just chatting shit, but it gets them the subscribers. So good luck to them.
AJ, I think we got to look into this a little bit more. Okay. This is strange to me. Okay. And I want to share this with the viewers. This is very strange. So here's one of the channels that is talking about the collapse. Well, we quick mathematics here. Okay. This video was made on, let's just see, when was it made? It was made on over a month ago. Okay. Over 4. Okay. So there was comments 4 weeks ago on this video. Okay.
Yeah.
And this video was calling for the collapse of China 25 days. Okay. So this didn't happen. But I really want to show you guys something interesting here. As a YouTuber, it's taken me 3 years to grow my audience, years to also for AJ. What on earth is a channel like this? And let's have a look at this guy's channel. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you guys come up with your own conclusion here. Magic of Finance. Okay. I will never contact. I will go ahead. You want to say something?
The name sounds Ukrainian, Alex.
I'm not going to say anything. Okay. This individual says, I will never contact you for business or promotions, even if it comes from a legitimate email. I will not use Instagram, Telegram, or WhatsApp to reach out. Please ignore and report those. I'm like Harry Potter. If he was financial minimalist, did card tricks and worried about money, business inquiries. And there's his name. Okay. Now, from one YouTuber to another, let's make some sense of this, guys, okay? What on earth is this guy? Let's have a look here. Includes paid promotion. Okay. What on earth is this guy making videos on the collapse of China? Why is this guy making videos on the collapse of China? Why are many people like this guy making, the world's going to end, 3.7 trillion, no days, Stop, blah blah blah. You have to really look, and here you go. Okay, China's economy just got worse 25 days, but now it's 6 days ago. Oh, here we go again. Okay, here we go again, doubling down, it looks like. Okay. So here's the problem with those channels, guys. What are they doing that for? AJ, do you honestly think that they are doing it to warn investors or help investors, or is there something behind this? This isn't one channel. I'm just using it as an
That's right.
example.
Yeah, there's so many.
Something is coordinated here.
Yeah, so many channels started this at the same time, exactly at the same time. They all jumped on the bandwagon. It seems like, and they all seems to be very like big followers. You know.
Yes, huge followers.
Yeah. So
It's strange,
and it's a paid
but
promotion
too
as well.
strange.
It's a paid promotion, so you have to think who's actually doing the paying, who's paying for that promotion.
Well, I don't know if our viewers have heard of the, and maybe you've heard of this. Um, let me just see it in China. Let me just get this here. Um, yes, I'm going to bring this story up to you guys again here. Let's see if we can. We've done this before, but we're going to bring it back up on to the screen one more time. If you guys have seen these videos, then you'll understand what AJ and I are talking about. If you haven't, well, let's see where the arrows can point to, and they point right to this here. If you can see that there, U.S. to offer millions in new funds to take on China. If they look, swim, quack like U.S. influence operations, they probably are U.S. operations, especially when they come with an annual price tag of $300 million authorized as law, 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 by the U.S. Congress, of which $10 million has been earmarked, especially for Hong Kong. Isn't that interesting?
Yep.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I mean, Alex,
What can you spend? What can you spend $300 million, $1 million a day on? What can we
300 million
spend million?
is a lot of money, but if you think about it, if they start paying these YouTubers, say there's about, let's say there's 3,000 YouTubers, paying them a little bit of money, pay YouTube a bit of money, you're still, it's still a lot of money, and I think a lot of these YouTubers are getting very rich from it. But Alex, you gotta also understand,
Yes.
there's a reason for this, and the reason is they want investment to go out of China. So if you're a
Yes.
business and you see all of these channels saying China's going to collapse, China's going to collapse, if you look into invest in China, you're going to see all these channels. You're going to think, oh no, China's going to collapse. Why not? Let me invest somewhere else. I think that's the whole purpose of it. They want businesses not to invest in China. They want people not to go to China. They want to make China, because their own economies are collapsing. You see the US economy, you see the Eurozone, because their own economies are collapsing, they are losing investments, but they know that a lot of these investments are going to China instead, so they want to make China look bad as well. It's one of those things. If you know your own ship is sinking, you will try and basically take everyone down with you. That's what it seems to me.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of capital put into the anti-China tanks, but as being on YouTube as we are all the time, because we like to put content out for everybody, you have to really be really clueless to not recognize those type of adverts. But it wasn't just one video, guys and girls. There's hundreds of these videos out there that are
Yeah.
saying it's collapsing. Now,
Yeah.
once again, AJ,
Yeah.
look at the views on some of these videos.
Yeah.
Into the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands. That might even be a paid viewership as well. It might come along where maybe, just maybe, hypothetical. Okay, it's going to be hypothetical. It's called an opinion, everyone. That maybe, just maybe, some of these content creators were contacted from a I don't know, non-government organization that says, hey, we think that you should put this video out on that. And for that, we'll give you an ad budget as well. So your video is going to perform, you're going to be happy, and you're going to get paid.
Yeah,
Because
but
how is it? Go
the
ahead.
guy's channel is about finance. So if you can't get the financial information correct about China, who's going to believe him? I mean, he's obviously running a business. His channel is called Art of Finance. If he knows
Right.
nothing about the financial world, if he knows nothing
And
about China,
nothing against this guy. He's
yeah,
probably a really nice guy.
yeah, nothing against him. I'm
But
just saying,
what?
his channel is
But
about finance. But if he gets his financial stuff wrong about China, who's going to believe him? Is he
but
going to get anyone asking him for financial advice?
I would like to invite all the guys that made the China's collapsing party. In fact, they can contact me here and we can have a China is not collapsing party. And then maybe we can ask all hundreds of these guys that made these videos, did you guys meet up one day and decide to all make the same video? Because this isn't a coincidence. This is actually and that's something, once again, that I think the audience needs to understand. And that's why we're talking about, China opening. We want to give you our and my opinion of being here. It's not an exact thing. I'm just hoping that China will eventually responsibly open up and welcome people in here, because it's a beautiful country to come to. But when you start seeing channels move this type of disinformation out to the public, this, once again, this might not be an anti-China in regards to hating a race or a nationality or something like that, but this is now triggered to try to show instability in China's economy, where 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, it was the banks. 4 months ago, it was the real estate markets. Wake up. I mean, if people really think that China has issues, boy, oh boy, oh boy, the candle is burning bright in the United States of America. And I'm going to say this to you guys again. In the markets, when we had the first outbreak, the immediate 42 to 44% sell-off on the S&P 500 happened within weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought, okay, this market is pricing in where it should be. But if following that, not far after that, a few months after, yeah, we can call it a considerable crash, because that wipes out people right away. You can't tell me that everybody watched the market sink 42% and then watched it ride all the way back up, no problem, to reach new highs. There's two problems with that. One is the big boys at the banks probably wiped out a lot of these small-time retail people. And number two is, what on earth were the markets doing up around the 46, 4,700 spot on the S&P 500? They shouldn't be there, period. And they still shouldn't be where they are today. Now, I'm going to go deeper with this. If you look at a lot of the companies on the S&P 500, that's the Standard & Poor, that's 500 U.S. companies that are the most, I guess, for market capitalization. A lot of them, AJ, are zombie companies. They've borrowed money during the COVID, the free money that was given away from the government, and they've offset it with debt. So sure, they have some capital to work with, but if the musical chairs stopped today and they called all that money back, or they converted it to private money and told all those shareholders to cash in, a lot of these companies are worth zero.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's
that is
speculation.
surprising.
Yeah, it's all speculation as well. You see the costs for Tesla shares, for example, they're way overpriced, way overpriced. Tesla, even though they are one of the biggest EV company in the world, they are the biggest debted company at the moment. All of their factories and cars, they are not going to break even until 2030s, some way back, 2035 or something. And it's all speculation. And the fact that Tesla comes in priced way above all of these other established car companies like Ford and Volkswagen, it
Mm.
just shows that it's all speculations. Tesla has got no experience in running a car company. You got Ford and Volkswagen, who have been around for years, and now Ford and Volkswagen are releasing their own EV cars as well. But Tesla is like 3-4 times higher in terms of
Mm.
their stock prices compared to all these car companies. It just goes to show a lot of these car companies or tech companies are just way overhyped. It's all down to speculation. Um,
It's absolutely crazy when you think about that. But the musical chairs, we call it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term, but the musical chairs does stop, guys. It eventually stops.
yeah.
And it's brutal. I've seen it happen in these financial markets so many times. It makes me sick. But what are they doing? I mean, really? And so, how they offset it, AJ, is very simple. When I'm hearing the housing market is trading at a booming, oh, hey, buy a house. It's trading at this. I'm like, really? Why? Well, the price of wood through the roof, the price of electricity, copper wire through the roof, the price of builders is through the roof. People quitting jobs because they, I don't know, want to. Who's quitting jobs in the middle of a pandemic? Like, really? You see it. And then you see prices keep going up. People still buying. Okay, I get that. But I'm telling you guys, it's coming. I'm not sure how big it's going to be, but there's going to be uh, I'm not giving financial advice on this show, but I'm just saying that as you guys heard me a few weeks back, I said this market is way overpriced. We've fallen back about 4.5%, 5% on it already. And now, AJ, we've identified when there's hints of China starting to open and hints of China showing that things are going to be back to a bit normal. I think these Western countries are getting very concerned because all these excuses that they're hiding behind, like, oh, this is the UK, this is Putin's fault. Your electricity is expensive because of Putin. Oh no, your price of wood is expensive because there's logistic issues. They use all these excuses, and it probably drives the average person crazy. Oh, the supply chain is under the supply. I mean, China's making as much stuff as they can make. The problem is there's a wrecking ball here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, I work, where I work, and in my workplace, I get the same thing. Everyone's blaming Putin. Nobody's actually blaming their own government. So one guy sat with me once, and he was saying, "Oh, the cost of living is killing me," and stuff like that. So I was talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, he said, because of Putin, my life has gone really shit." So I sat with him. I said, listen to me. So if Putin didn't exist and there was a war in Bangladesh, for example, are you going to blame the Prime Minister of Bangladesh for your cost of living crisis?
Oh my
And
god, huh?
he was like, no. So then I said, why are you blaming Putin for your cost of living crisis? What's Putin got to do with great, British economy? End of the day, if you're running a country, why do you let other leaders ruin your economy? You should be self-sufficient enough not to allow that. The only reason Britain is having all of these issues is because the economy's been run to the ground by the politicians. Is their sanctions? Is all of these money printing? That's who you need to blame, not Putin. So I sat with him. I explained to him, it's not Putin's fault. It's basically down to the government. And he was like, "Oh yeah,
Did he
you're
believe
right."
you?
Yeah, he did. He was like, afterwards, he was like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't be. We as a country, UK, we shouldn't be blaming other world leaders for what they do. It shouldn't really affect us. Only way it will affect us if we do, crappy stuff like money printing or sanctions or things like that." So I asked him, like, why, if 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 Britain is affected with all these inflation, why isn't China having high inflation? Why is China's inflation 2%? He's like, is China's inflation 2%? I said, yeah, just check it out. So I showed him and checked it. So I said, if Putin was doing everything he was doing, he should affect the whole world, right? So why is only UK affected and China's not affected? So I had to sit down with him and explain it to him. But going back, Alex, going back to those channels who are giving deadlines. If you're
Yes.
yeah, if you're a finance company, if you're a YouTube channel talking about finance, why would you give yourself a deadline saying this is the date China's going to collapse and put yourself out there? Why would you do that? Something so stupid. It's like me, like it's like me putting up a video tomorrow saying US is going to collapse by next week. You know, and then when next week doesn't happen, I'm just basically putting myself out there for a lot of flack because people are going to be saying to me, "Oh, wait, next week's already gone now. You said the US is going to collapse. Why isn't it collapsed?" You know,
Oh
you're just
man.
putting yourself up for a real big fall if your prediction doesn't. A wise person would just say something like, a wise person would say China's economy is not doing well. It may collapse or something like that. You have to use your word, properly, not say, "Oh, China's going to collapse in 25 days." So,
But AJ, they do. That's the thing, is they do say that. And it's incredible. They go into such detail, and
yeah,
it's kind of like I said, and we're gonna bring that graph up in a moment. It's really creepy what these guys are doing. It's absolutely strange. I don't understand it. But yeah, I guess they want to do it. What can I say, right? I mean, yeah. Let me just keep chatting there for a minute. I'm going to bring up an interesting screen here if I can. I'm going to need a moment to try it, but yeah. Let's go on to this thing that I was chatting about here earlier. Let me just bring it back up on the screen. I think I've still got it for you guys. You guys are going to get a kick out of this. Okay. So let's get on Russia. Let's blame Russia. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so here we go. Okay, here's how Russia sanctioned world Ukraine invasion. Okay, so the European Union targeted 70% of the Russian bank market. Export ban on equipment technology from the energy sector, freezing assets under Vladimir Putin's inner circle. South Korea will join the international sanction. Okay, Japan, asset freezes placed on financial institutions. Okay, Australia sanctioned 25 individuals. Asset freezes from the UK on all major Russian banks, including VTB. Prohibit all major. Okay, so it's kind of going to be like this, right, guys? You're going to basically shut the lights out if you can. You're going to close all the stores, all the IKEAs, all the Burger Kings, all the McDonald's, all the Starbucks. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, call Sweden. Get Sweden on the phone. Tell them to close all the IKEAs. Okay, all the IKEAs are closed. Okay, call General Motors and all those guys. Tell them it's a bad thing to do. Make sure that they put a rainbow flag up on their website, or let's put a blue and yellow flag up on their website. Okay, so that's up there. Then the French get involved. Oh no, we can't sell wine to Russians. No, but you've only been selling villas in Saint Tropez for the last 2 decades. Then the Brits get in there. Oh, we gotta stop this. Let's go after all the oligarchs. Okay. Oh, and let's take the soccer team while they're at it. We can't have a soccer team because you're Russian. Can't have a soccer team. Oh yeah, but what if you're a tennis player and you're from Russia? Oh no, got to cancel those guys out too. So it's kind of like they're looking at every single angle that anything to do with Russians, they want to shut down completely. So
yeah,
anything that is even remotely close, if you're a Russian mobile seller, can't do it. Sorry, close. If you sell clothes, if you sell raw, I bet you if tomorrow morning you open up a website and you sold sand from I don't know, the Baltic Sea off of the coast of Kaliningrad, you'd be on the international sanction list by noon hour. Okay. And it would be that bizarre. But it's so crazy now that they've actually targeted individuals that want to travel to Europe
yeah,
for tourism. No,
exactly.
got to cancel that visa. Now, if you want a visa, it's only for humanitarian reasons, 30 days, you can get it. It's double the price, and it takes 3 times longer if you get it. So now they're blocking nationalities. Can't the world see what's going on here, AJ?
It's crazy, Alex. It's crazy. This is pure racism. They are targeting ordinary Russians for their government's actions. And recently, the foreign, sorry, not say the foreign, but the Prime Minister of Finland, she came out and said that we need to be harder on Russian citizens. We need to target Russians with these sanctions, ordinary Russians, and this is pure racism. And if there is a
Absolutely.
war, And if there is a war in the Taiwanese Strait, Alex, the same thing's going to happen to China. However, China is looking at this, and they are looking at each and every company which has pulled out of Russia, and they are making steps. You know, as you know, there's a huge trade deficit between the US and China. China's got a huge amount of foreign US reserves, and any point the US will probably do the same thing they're doing to Russia. So they will block those reserves. They will steal that money from the central bank. They will obviously get all of these companies to pull out. They're going to do exactly the same thing they're doing to Russia. So China is making steps. They are buying a huge amount of gold. You know, with that US dollars, they are buying a huge amount of gold. You can see that China is the biggest buyer of gold at the moment. They are
Beautiful.
buying a lot of
Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it
they are
beautiful?
buying a lot of land in the US. I mean, there's a story about how China's buying up all the farmland in USA. So they are getting rid of the dollars, but they're actually buying actual assets. You know, they're buying assets in the United States. You know, not dollars, and they are also you know, spending those dollars on the BRI as well. So they're using this BRI, giving loans to other countries in dollars, but they get the money back in yuan. And so, they're making they're finding ways to basically get rid of as many dollars as possible. However, they still have, or they still need to have 1 trillion reserves in the central bank, 1 trillion US dollars. They can't get rid of that. And the reason they can't get rid of that is because the US dollars is still the world reserve currencies, and they still need to buy oil, like from Saudi Arabia. They need to buy oil from Saudi Arabia in dollars. So they need to keep that, you know, 1 trillion at least in the central bank. So that is still an issue. But the big news is, if Saudi Arabia, if President Xi can persuade Saudi Arabia to sell oil in yuan, then that will be a game changer. That's the only thing that China is stuck on, because they still need to have that, you know, US dollars in their central bank
Yeah.
to buy things like oil and other commodities around the world. But if Saudi Arabia can agree that, you know, they can send to yuan, that would be a great game changer for China. That will be the missing link, and with that, you know, there's no stopping China. There's nothing America can do in terms of sanctions. But right now they are still vulnerable. But you know, if they can, I think President Xi is planning a trip to Saudi Arabia soon as well to discuss this. The only problem we have is Saudi Arabia. You know, it's not going to be easy for Saudi Arabia to do this, because if they do this, they are going to be on the target list. Because look at what happened to Saddam Hussein. Look at what happened to Gaddafi when they tried to go away from the US dollar, selling oil. If Saudi Arabia did that, they would be on the target list for the US. And there's nothing the US that wouldn't do. I mean, if Saudi Arabia did that, I wouldn't be surprised if all of these news articles started coming out saying Saudis were responsible for 9/11, and then suddenly, you know, we bombed the wrong country, it should have been Saudi, and they will start, you know, attacking Saudi in that way. So Saudi needs security. I mean, right now America provides Saudi security, they provide them with weapons. So if Russia and China can come in and say to Saudi Arabia, look, we can provide that security that you need, we can give you as much weapons as you need, you don't need America at this stage, then that deal would happen. But if that deal doesn't happen, if China and Russia cannot promise that security, if they cannot promise the weapons, then there's no way Saudi Arabia would be able to do that. Because if they did that, they would be a target on America, and America would make sure, you know, Saudi Arabia is punished for that. So right now they're fine, but if they ever go away from the US dollar, they're going to be huge. You know, they're going to have a huge target on their back. So it's very obviously, this is why it's not going to be easy for Saudi Arabia to do that. But you know, if that can happen one day, then that will be the beginning of the end of the dollar. Absolutely.
You see, here in China, you know, there's an understanding that, and I think most people will agree with me on this, is that, you know, it's a long-term plan always for something, whether they're planning railways, whether they're planning government plans, whether this COVID could be a long-term planning as well. How do we know that maybe they've been planning on eventually opening these borders at a certain date, but taking a long-term approach to come up with the proper strategy for that. And think about it. I mean, the world is in some serious pain right now in regards to the financial markets, but the inflation is just off the radar. Europe is in bits. I mean, they had a bloody second line going into Germany to help them even bring the cost down. Well, they've basically kiboshed that idea, so that's gone, and it's a mess. So while this mess is going on, China's organizing things. They're getting things done. They're moving forward. They're still doubling down, building more railways, building airports. A beautiful airport here in Chongqing, T3B, is under construction right now. I mean, the original airport still hasn't had a chance to show its amazing infrastructure to the world yet. I mean, we're seeing EV cars. I mean, we're iChongqing here. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff coming up here in the next month with the EV car industry. Right now, we're also doing a lot of stuff in ecology right now. A tremendous amount of stuff that's going on here. You would think, if there was an island in the middle of your city or near your city, let's say, for example, in London, if you had a nice little island, or let's call it even Jersey or the Channel Islands. Can you imagine how great that would be if the government was investing hundreds of millions of dollars in it just to educate the generation about ecology and the environment instead of slamming up, 600 hotels there? A remarkable story that I was faced with last week when I visited Guangyang Island here in Chongqing. The government's gone in there. 2,000 workers a day have cleaned up that island, made it, some of the plants that are growing there have a special water table. It's almost like a sponge filtration system where they can build different crops at different times of year. It's educating people. I mean, AJ, this stuff just goes on and on and on here in China. That's amazing. I go on about Chongqing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they approved around $3 trillion in infrastructure this year.
Yeah. When you're spending $3 trillion in China, you're getting $3 trillion in China infrastructure. You're not getting the Build Back Bankrupt program that Biden has. But I'm going to show you this. We're going to move on to just something else since we're talking about China and it opening and stuff like this. Well, get this, AJ. Who's on the bad list? Here we go. Companies stand with Ukraine. Okay, so did somebody just nice and innocent put up the don'tfundwar.com website? We maintain a comprehensive list of companies that still operate in Russia, financing its war against Ukraine. Take action. Well, Dunkin' Donuts are on there. Surprise, surprise. They put Tencent on there. Interesting. Xiaomi's on there. Wow. PPG, Bad Boys. Oh, Intercontinental. Tomorrow when I go stay at the Intercontinental here in Chongqing, I'm going to tell them, hey, guys, you're on this list. What do you think about that? And here's one here. This is hilarious. I don't know if you know the story behind Pepsi in the Soviet Union, but there's quite a strong relationship between Pepsi and Russia right now. That will be the last company that will ever leave Russia. And if you guys know the story, can you mention it in the comments below? But let's see who else is on this fantastic list. Digging in, here we go. Companies defying demands to exit, reduction of activities. Who is giving these guys demands to leave? Or buying time, companies postponing future planned investment and developments, or companies scaling back some business operations while continuing with others. So if you're a company and you've been impacted by the sanctions and you're deciding to scale back to keep your company, you're still on the naughty list. Isn't that amazing? I mean, these guys, and then Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, let's pull healthcare out of Russia, guys. That's cool. Procter & Gamble. Well, let's pull them out too. I mean, Nestle. Look at these names here. Pfizer. Alibaba is on there. Merck. AstraZeneca, I mean, Abbott Labs.
Yeah.
This just makes me laugh on what these guys are doing here. I mean,
They haven't put the India's biggest company in there, Infosys. Infosys has over, it is probably the biggest Indian company. They make billions and billions per year. And Rishi Sunak's wife is the daughter of the Infosys boss, so she makes a lot of money as well. Um, but yeah, talking about Infosys still works there, and
right.
it's almost like they are ignoring all of the, they don't care that Indians are buying more gas and oil. Um, all of these companies are still working in Russia. I think India is starting to, starting to fight back. But however, I just find that it's all, they're just focusing on China, and once China is done and dust with, they're going to come after India, and
Of course.
everyone knows that. And
Of
and all
course.
and you have all of these Indians who are kind of going along with the narrative about China. I talk to a lot of Indians in UK as well, Alex, and sometimes when I'm having conversations with people about politics, I always have one Indian guy coming up to me and saying, "What about Tibet? Or about China annexed Tibet?" All the Indians seem to think that Tibet is like is a major thing. And I open up my phone and I show him the map of China during the Qing dynasty. And during the Qing dynasty, Tibet was part of China for 200 years. So I showed him the map of the Qing dynasty, and I showed him Tibet was always part of China. So what do you have to say for yourself? Then I also asked him another question. I say to him, "What about Sikkim?" So I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Alex, but Sikkim used to be an independent country
Yeah.
back in the day, and India basically annexed Sikkim,
Mm.
and took it into India. So when all these Indians ask me, "What about Tibet? What about Tibet?" and I said, "What about Sikkim?" They normally just shut up after that. And then
Yeah,
you
I
ask
know.
them
I have the same.
Then you ask them about Kashmir, and they shut up. They like, "Oh,
I
we
get
don't
I
talk
get
about
that on all
Kashmir."
my videos all the time. Free this, free that. And I just said, free this, free that, free Canada. Free Canada. Free Canada, guys. Like free Canada. And they're like, what do you mean free Canada? Free Canada. You see, here's the funny thing. Put it this way. If I told the story of some of the things that happened to me the last time in Canada, and I just want to say thank you, Bobby Law, for the contribution to PTE's channel. AJ, thanks you for that. And Tommy Putra, IDR, thank you for the currency that you've given in the super sticker there. And there's Bobby once again. Thank you very much for that. But if I was to tell, get this, okay? Forget for a second I'm Canadian. Let's just say I'm from. Give me a country, AJ. Give me a country. Just give me a country. We could say a fictitious country. Okay, let's say Transnistria. Let's use Transnistria. Okay,
Yep.
okay. So I arrive in another country, and let's say I've had a really long night, and I arrive with some clothes that are kind of torn, and some journalist is sitting with me at this airport in I don't know, whatever country I went to. Let's call it the United Kingdom, okay? And I'm there in the UK, and I'm a guy from Transnistria, and I said, "Oh man, can you imagine my car was vandalized, my house was broken into twice, robbed, my neighbor's house was broken into, you know, girlfriend of my brother, she was attacked, and all these things, there's drugs everywhere, it's terrible everywhere, and I just had to escape." Now, if you're from other countries, that's major headlines. But if you're a Canadian that left the country because you started to see society go down quickly in the 90s, which I did. I've been living out of Canada more than I have lived in Canada now in my life. And in the 90s, I started to see that place go down fast. And it started to bother me. And I lived in a relatively good area. But safety didn't seem to be of any major concern to government officials. Prosperity didn't seem to be any concern to any of the government individuals. Taxes seem to be quite of the interest to many of the government individuals, whether it's sales tax, whether it's goods and services tax, luxury tax, property tax, income tax, federal income tax, sales tax, alcohol tax, sweet tax. I think it's a carbon tax, all these taxes. And then the medical industry collapsed. After I saw how the medical industry treated my father, I said, enough is enough. I'm making changes. I'm going out. Now, the family at the time said to me, are you crazy? Why are you leaving the greatest country in the world? Well, let me tell you this. I am proud to be a Canadian because of, my upbringing with my family. I was treated with respect and given all the opportunities any young guy could have. But that's not enough today. And in today's world, we are given many challenges. And sometimes there are nations that are not aware of how their governments impact our lives. Let's use the, I'll call it Western playbook. So I'm not targeting any countries here. I was explaining to a couple of Chinese friends the other day. They said, well, you're in a free country. Even they know the lingo. Okay, HA? They know the lingo. You're in a free country. Okay, yes, of course. Okay. But what does that mean? Free is in what way? Free is in a way that if you donated to a certain, I don't know, political party, that's put out for the rest of the world to read. Or if you donated to a talk show that you thought was cool, or maybe a YouTuber that was covering certain things in the country, well, then your number was turned over to the Canadian government and your bank's accounts were seized within 48 hours. Well, how does that happen? What if you donated to a site in the United States? Well, wait a minute, Visa, MasterCard, the transaction happened in Canada. They turn those over. Okay, so we're really not so free anymore. Okay, so because everybody hides behind this information. If my information's private, I'm cool. There's no outreach. But I'm going to go into details a little bit more. When governments give up the care of people, they fail in my eyes. If you are sick in Canada, if you break, tear a knee or do something that injures your body, you're on a waiting list. Well, how is that good for your life? If you're driving on bad roads that could cause accidents or not well lit, there's car accidents everywhere, in Canada. Deadly roads in the wintertime because maybe the roads aren't salted. There is no responsibility when it comes to infrastructure. Infrastructure is a major part of people's lives and people don't even realize it. If you have a grandmother that's 75 that has to take a bus to come visit you, that's just wrong. Okay. Yeah. If the bus comes once an hour in a town that's small and it's cold in the wintertime. If you want to visit a mother in Canada, for example, if I wanted to, where I lived before and where my mom lives now, it was 8.5 hour car drive to see her. Would I want to risk my life on the highway in Canada anywhere anytime after the month of October? Between October and May, 6 months, icy roads, 110 kilometers an hour or 65 miles an hour or 110 kilometers an hour on an icy road. You hear these stories, AJ. Oh, so-and-so slid off the highway. It wasn't properly salted. There's no trains in Canada. We can't go to visit our mothers. There's no trains. Okay, you got to get an airplane. Okay, got to get an airplane. Then that hits the pocketbook. What's it cost to fly a flight in Canada? Well, actually, some flights in Canada are more expensive flying in Canada than they are from Canada to other parts of the world, even London. So these things start to impact people's lives. And they're not just infrastructure in regards to trains and planes and roads and stuff like that. It goes deeper now. And here we go. And now we're getting to the crux of all of this. Now it's electricity prices. Now it's gas prices. And here is something that I was totally shocked. And this stuff, AJ, doesn't happen here. I've tried to tell my mother, if you're here, Mom, and you live in Chengdu, which is 300 kilometers away, it'll take me an hour and 10 minutes, and I got 100 trains to choose from a day. Imagine telling that to your mother. Hey, Mom, let's meet 30 minutes for coffee. Oh, but we're 300 kilometers away from each other, son. Well, in China, I'll see you in 30 minutes, and we'll have a great time having coffee. Matter of fact, maybe you'll hop on the train and sit back with me, and we'll enjoy the coffee and free Wi-Fi together for $20. That's China, guys. Maybe I want to fly to an airport. I've never been, but it might be scary. No, it's well lit, well security, and safe. Okay, China. I want to get on a train. I want to go 4 hours away, but I don't know how to do it. Go online, book a flight. Don't have to carry cash because you got it on your phone. China. Okay. But if you're a pensioner in North America or a pensioner in the United Kingdom, you might be seeing that your electricity bill is more money than your pension that you're getting from your government.
Yep.
That's how it's going to impact those people's lives right now. So that's why I'm saying that eventually I had to make that decision where I felt that these things were coming in Canada and these were, impacting my life. And these are the impacts that are happening in everyone's life right now. When you buy a home, and you'll get these critics where they'll say, oh, in China, you can only lease a condo maybe for 40 or 70 years. Okay. The problem with that is what? The price is probably a lot more affordable to get into, right? Or in Canada, your alternative is you buy a house, but you pay property tax. Now, you pay property tax on what that value of that property is, what the government thinks it's worth. Okay. The government might say, oh, we think the inflation went up 8%, so your house went up 8%. And guess what? Your property taxes go up 8%. You want to see if you really own your home in your country? Stop paying your property tax. And let's see how fast that home shifts from you into that municipality or into that government's hands quickly. You never really own your home in these countries when you're hit with property taxes. And I'm telling you, some of these property taxes will make your eyes water, AJ. They'll make your eyes water.
True. I mean, I'm in Manchester now, but I used to live in London. And if you're living in an apartment in London, you have to pay lease. You don't own the you don't own the property. It's all lease. But when you buy that lease and you're buying a property, say you live in central London, you have to pay something called service charge, and service charge is like another rent. It depends on the apartment. If you live in central London, your service charge is going to be between £500 to £1,000 per month, and then you got to pay a lease charge on top of that. Then you got to pay for insurance. The property's got to have insurance. So by the time that's why apartments in London are just unlivable. And you're paying somebody else for service charge, you're paying somebody else for the lease, you're paying somebody else for insurance, but you don't own the property because you have a leasehold. And when people complain that, oh, you don't own the property in China, it's all lease. Well, look at the Western world. It's the same thing, except it's more, they take more money, they squeeze more money out of you at the same time. So people don't, when they say this, they don't understand how the world works, Alex. And I want to also go back to what you said about the companies as well. And I just thought about this now. Imagine if these companies were asked to leave China, if there's ever a problem with China, if there's if there was any like a Taiwanese Taiwanese Strait War or something, and these companies are forced to leave China. So imagine Starbucks and Apple being asked to leave China. Imagine these companies will go bankrupt overnight. I mean, they would just
be
lose
done.
their business. They'd be done.
I mean right outside that door there's 3 Starbucks attached to that shopping mall, just right behind me there. Okay, that's just one area here in Chongqing.
Imagine losing that 1.4 billion customer base. Your company will just go bankrupt overnight. I mean, leaving Russia is hurting a lot of companies as well. For example, Netflix have said that they are losing a huge amount of subscribers, and their share price has tumbled because they've left Russia. Because Russians used to love Netflix apparently. And there was there's a lot of companies who actually left Russia, and they're just losing so much money. Because when you are a business, Alex,
Hmm.
if I want to open up a business in Russia, right? I This is my money. It's not Russian money. So I have to go in there. I have to obviously pay for the land, build my business. I've got to pay for the staff. It's my investment. It's my money. So if I'm asked to leave that country because of sanctions, who's going to benefit, me or Russia? Russia's going to benefit because they've taken my money. They've got a brand new business there. They got resources. They got staff, and I'm being asked to leave Russia. So companies that get forced to leave Russia, it's down to them. They're the ones that lose money. Russia doesn't lose any money. It's
Yeah,
their investment. If you want to invest in a foreign country, it's your money, it's your investment. It's not Russians' investment. So
you know
it's really stupid how these companies follow the government guidelines and
it
rules.
is,
And
and it is, and the irresponsibility of these government. And once again, I don't experience these things. Like China is just it's not perfect, guys. I'm not saying it's perfect, but wow. I mean, some things are just the way things are implemented and run, and it just it's for me it's fantastic because things that you might always wish for in a country are right out that door for me. Okay. Yeah, okay, it's what 10:30 at night here. I'm in a big city. The last thing that's even on my mind, AJ, is did my car get broken into while I was doing this live stream? Did my bike get stolen while I was doing this live stream? Something like that, right? Those are so far from the mind that you have this sense of comfort that things are in order. People, for most part here, respecting everything. It's a very respectful nation. And here's where governments, and shame on them. First, they understand that they can't push China around anymore. Those days are over, guys. Nice try.
yeah,
You're going to try to put sanctions on this country and tell all these companies to leave. Well, if you think your economy has been hit bad now, I mean, look out. So that's never going to happen. As my dad would always say, snowball in hell chance. Okay, not happening. Now, to get into it a little bit more, is what these countries and companies have done to the average, we'll call it not the big boys, not the IKEAs, not the Starbucks, not the McDonald's, but imagine all those business owners in Russia. Let's say, I remember watching a YouTube channel 2 weeks ago about this girl for 3 years. She made this handmade soap. She used to export it. It was handmade. Some scents from her garden were put into the soap, and she would send these beautifully packaged things to her subscribers and whatever. Well, FedEx, all these mail companies, and she can't accept transactions because PayPal's gone, Visa, MasterCard gone, American Express gone. All these payment things are gone, and they wipe out little companies, little dreams, or even big dreams that people have because of bloody politics. Where was the outcry when, I'm not going to name it, but other countries that are bullies or were bullies in this world go in and steamroll other countries? Where's the outcome? Where's the sanctions? Where are the sanctions list? With 300 million people like to have their business canceled and their country canceled overnight? How would that feel? Well, you
it,
can't imagine and you can't fathom it because it's never happened to you. But those countries, those leaders of your countries have turned around and done it to other people.
yep.
Sure, diplomatic approaches are the best way forward. But something very strange happened months ago in February. There's not one leader in the European Union that wants to sit down at a table and talk about an agreement that was actually signed many years ago called the Minsk Agreement. Not one single leader in the European Union wants to get on a telephone and try to negotiate a deal. Not one person in the Western world, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, nobody wants to sit down at a table to end this. Not one. That's got to tell you something.
Yeah, if they wanted to end it tomorrow, they could easily end it. They can, the Western world can say, you know what, Ukraine's. We agree Ukraine shouldn't join NATO, and Ukraine should implement the Minsk agreement. That's all they need to do. That's all that was agreed in 2014. That's all that. But no, they have to go along this route because they make money through the military-industrial complex. They make money through war, and all of these senators, neocons, they all making a good money out of it. And there's no American lives being lost. These are all Ukrainian lives, so it's a win-win for United States. They're making money, plus no American lives are being lost at the same time.
And they're also draining all that old NATO compliant equipment out of the countries, and they're getting those machines ready to ready to send a lot of brand spanking new equipment to Sweden and Finland. You guys can kiss 2% of your GDP goodbye for generations and your children's generations, but those are gone. I mean, that's the sad part about it. It's not that the conflict is depressing enough, but look at how many people's lives it destroyed. I mean, we're on YouTube here. PT and I talk, but I've seen Russian YouTubers that have just been absolutely wiped out, that have nothing to do with this. Yep. Wiped out, completely wiped out. Basically, email from YouTube to the Russian YouTubers. You're part of the AdSense program. Can't have you on there. Goodbye. It's been great being on YouTube. Put your channel up for free. Send your content for free to everybody. Gone. Channels just gone. And then it gets deeper. I mean, no one can travel. What if there's people that have businesses, homes, property, investments? It's all been wiped out. And those are casualties. But no one's talking about those because maybe it's just not politically correct to talk about it. It's just absolutely crazy. And AG, I just don't get it. Why is no one wanting to really sit down at the table here and work this out?
Well, there is one person. You have Viktor Orban, but guess what? The Europeans are now trying to kick out Hungary out of Europe. They have placed all of these ridiculous sanctions on Hungary, and now they're saying that they're not going to pay Hungary the part of EU's fund. They're going to stop all the funding to Hungary. They're basically pushing out Hungary, and their reasons are because of corruption or something like that. But then you look at Ukraine, how corrupt that is. How corrupt Zelensky is. It's got nothing to do with corruption. And if that's the problem, really, if anyone speaks out, they get. I think the problem with today's leaders, they all they don't have a spine, Alex. None of them have got a spine. They all following Biden blindly. If Biden tells them to jump off a plane, they'll gladly do it. Nobody's got a spine these days. They're all following their American hegemony. And the last leader who actually stood up to the United States was Chirac, when he stood up against the United States during the Iraq War. And I remember when France stood up and they said, you know what, we don't believe all this bullshit. They just called out America at the time. And France got really heavily sanctioned of the next few. I don't know if many people realize, but France, anything to do with France or French got sanctioned. Like French fries got renamed Freedom Fries. So France got really, really heavily hit. For like 10 years. And now France has got most of its trust back from the United States. I don't think any French leaders will want to do that again. And that's a problem we have. Alex, everyone is under the thumb of the United States. Every single European leader is under the thumb, because Europe is a vessel state for the
Yeah.
United States, and that's the
Yeah.
problem. There's no lead. Only other leader who was strong enough was Merkel. She was the only one used to stand up to Trump. And I think she was good for Germany. But now with Scholz, you know, the Rand reports tells you that America is getting exactly what they want from Germany. They're putting Germany down.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
And Scholz is the perfect leader for that. I mean, Merkel knew what was happening. She actually stood up to Trump and a lot of the deep state at the time. She made links to Russia because she didn't want to be dependent on the United States. So that's why she had made all these gas deals with Russia. Um, I think the United States felt that Germany was slowly going towards Russian influence. They're not going to be much influenced by the United States. But now with Scholz on board, now he's completely done a 180 and now completely under US's thumb. And it's
Mm.
going to destroy the economy for it. It's going to destroy the German economy. Once great industrialized nation is going to be deindustrialized. And it's a shame, really. It's an absolute shame.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing. Going into the winter here, we're going to see a lot of really, really hard, depressing stories coming out of that area. That is not an area that you want to be bunkered down and fighting for any territory. Coming up here, and winter came so fast, and it's almost like. The Russian government has actually slowed this down a bit, and that could be a strategy. I was always, having a father that was in the Navy and a grandfather who was also in the Navy. They always told me, these Russian winters, and they have told me that, there was a lot of Soviets that died that, Hollywood doesn't make movies about. And I think it was 26 million. We spoke about it in one of our live streams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a country that is going to so here the post-Soviet government of Russia puts the Soviet war losses at 26.6 million on the basis of a 1993 study by Russian Academy and scientists. So I was off by about 600,000, but I mean, how we forget. I mean, the price of war that country has done to actually help stabilize Europe, and now they're trying to be canceled out. That's just absolutely crazy. Here, sorry, go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I was going to say, we haven't talked about the Taiwanese bill that got agreed in the Senate yesterday,
Oh, I
and
didn't hear that.
yeah, basically they agreed a bill which they're going to push for Taiwanese independence. They're going to sell more weapons to Taiwan. And China is not very happy about it, actually. So things could escalate. Things are escalating slowly. It's almost like, Alex, they are taking steps. They're taking small steps every single month, and they're heading towards a war with China. And they know they're not winning this thing with Ukraine. They know that every single year China is getting stronger and stronger. So if there was a war with China, I think they feel that this is the best time to do it. And I
Yeah,
think they are really pushing it. I mean, on that bill yesterday that got agreed, that has really a lot of Chinese leaders are very unhappy about it. I think, and it's just they're just taking steps. Every single week they seem to be taking new steps. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days United States just says, you know what, we're going to pull out of this one China policy. We're just going to pull out of it. We don't agree with it, or something along those lines. And China has said that if Taiwan declares independence, they will go to war. However, I think United States will push for a war. If they pull out of the one China policy and start giving Taiwan weapons, start giving Taiwan legit, start opening U.S. embassies in Taiwan and things like that, I think that will be the trigger when China just says, you know what, enough is enough. We're just gonna have to go in.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come to that. I think that and that's maybe where we don't agree or maybe disagree. I don't know, but I think that Americans are they're clever on some of the things that they do, but they have seen that some of their policies have obviously not worked in other parts of the world. It's only going to take for the Chinese to cut off logistics, and that's it. That's how fast it's going to end. They could call the treasury notes in. That, if there's somebody that should be worried, it should be the United States. And I'm not talking about military. I'm talking more on the financial implications that could, if anybody could sink an economy, it's China. China could sink the American economy overnight. Everybody says, oh, but the U.S. has got a bigger economy. Not if you call in the money, it doesn't. Not if you call in the assets, it doesn't. Let's go toe to toe on assets with countries, right?
Yeah, but where I feel, Alex, I feel that United States has nothing to lose at the moment because their economy is crashing. They have had two quarters in a row. So they're officially in recession. They had 2 quarters in a row where their GDP has gone down. They are officially in recession, and looks like they're going to be in recession for a long time. And this is going to turn in. This is going to turn into a depression. And I think in the past, the way they kind of got out of recessions and depressions is war. And I feel like they might try and trigger something in China for them to get out of this depression. And
I can't see it. And here's why I can't see it. Is when you say that, okay, America has nothing to lose. Okay. This is probably I don't think that they're going to actually let's be realistic here. They're an economy that is built on consumerism. They consume. Okay, they order, they buy, they do all this, all these things. All China has to do is get into the economic we'll call it war. Okay, we'll call it the economic war with the Americans. It's going to end very fast. You just got to go back to the housing crisis to see who came in and saved the day. It was the Chinese.
Yeah.
So the Chinese, within a quick heartbeat, could smoke the dollar, smoke the U.S. market, smoke the logistical market for the world. And everybody say, yeah, but that would shut down. That would hurt China. China would be very hurt business. This country is pretty, I would say, pretty much self-contained on everything it needs. So what does America have to lose? America has to lose its last remaining itsy bitsy minor control that they think they have on most of the world or part of the world. That's what they have to lose. And that's where it's called we're all in, where America goes all in. And I'm not saying military. Let's try to take military off the table here, and let's just talk how fast things could spiral down economically. You drop that world stock market, or pardon me, you drop that North American stock market another 15 to 20%. The last thing anybody's going to think about doing is getting into a conflict with China, because wealth is gone. Real estate assets, that bubble is going to burst. So what has everybody got? Cars in their driveway that they owe money on that depreciate. They got student loans that they got to pay back. They got these houses that were, for some strange reason, going up during COVID and probably still going up. So they're full of debt. And the last thing they're going to want is a confrontation. But something they got to be careful about is that this could cause instability in their own backyard.
I agree with you, Alex, but I feel that US is heading along that direction already. I think their bubble is about to burst, the stock market's about to crash. And I think one way that the governments can get out of being blamed, like Biden and deep state, neocons, one way they can get out of, get all the people together is through war. And I just feel that they are inching towards war with China. They're taking steps. They want this. I think when Pelosi was going
Yeah.
to Taiwan, for example, they had one aircraft carrier, two aircraft carriers on standby. They were ready to go to war. And I feel that whatever is going to happen to the United States in the event of war, I think that they feel that they can cause more damage to China and put China back 100 years or so. You know, that's how neocons think. You know, they don't
Yeah, I
think
understand.
about
I see what you're
they don't think
saying.
about the ordinary people. They think about themselves. They think about, even though America will hurt, but they feel that they can hurt China more, and I think that's their thinking behind it.
I still think that they're not ready to. let's look at this. I did a video comparing both military powers about a month and a half ago, and it really opened up a debate. And everybody kept saying to me, "Yeah, but the Americans, they spend they spend a lot more on military than China does." And I had a lot of good opinions on there. And then one guy, he sent me a very long email, and in this email, he compared the prices of products. He says, for a screwdriver or a hammer, it'll cost you $85 to $100 when it's invoiced in the military, even though that hammer or that screwdriver might only cost $2 or $3 to make. And we go back to infrastructure here. $3 trillion or $3 trillion of infrastructure in China is $3 trillion of infrastructure in China.
Yeah.
$3 trillion of military and infrastructure in the United States is cut up by cut up by cut up by cut up by cut up. These companies make a lot of profit. So what are you really getting for that million? Are you getting 200 million? Or what are you really getting for that $1 trillion that you spent? 150 billion, or you gotta really break this down. Like, if the costs are inflated 10 to 1, well, then you're only getting 10% of that value. And then you have to move forward and say, well, wait a minute, this country hasn't been to war in decades, okay? And so it's probably got brand new equipment, state of the art, up to standards, we'll call it. And then you got all these other countries that, one of them even left billions in Afghanistan. I don't need to mention that country, but we already know. And some of their equipment might not be great. Some of it might be great, but then everybody says, oh, but experience. But they got experience, Alex. They got experience. How successful have they been, AJ, in the last 20 years?
In terms of infrastructure?
No, I'm saying the let's call it the countries that seem to bring instability into the world. How successful has their military operations been in the last 20 or 30 years?
I would say failure in every single
okay,
in a very, very really, the worst type of failure. If there was
catastrophic failure,
yeah. Absolute catastrophic, like everything that they've done in the Middle East, everything that they've done. But you're 100% right about infrastructure. I mean, UK is one perfect example. They are spending 140 billion on a high-speed rail line, and guess what? These costs are escalating every single day, and every single day they're cutting corners. So in the beginning, this high-speed rail was supposed to go all the way to Scotland. Then they cut that line off. Then it was supposed to go to Leeds. Then they cut that off. And now it's just going to Birmingham. Now it's going to Manchester. And these trains are already, there's trains right now going into Birmingham, going into Manchester right now. And when this high-speed rail gets finished, 140 billion later, how much time do you think it will save to go to Birmingham? How much time do you think it will?
No idea.
It will save only 20 minutes. Only 20 minutes. 140 billion pounds later. Pounds we're talking about. So it's more than like $200 billion. So imagine you know, if you're going to spend like 140 billion on a brand new high-speed rail and it's costing you X amount of money, to save 20 minutes, you might as well go in the slower train and it will only save you 20 minutes. So makes no sense, right? I mean, these high-speed rail trains, they're not fast as the ones in China, not fast as the ones in Japan. They call it high-speed rail, but it's not really high-speed rail, Alex. You know, they're just, you know, the maximum they would probably go is 150 kilometers per hour or something. They're faster than what we have right now, but they're not high speed. They're not 300. They're not 300 or 600 kilometers per hour, nothing like that.
Right.
So they're spending all this money for nothing. And where does all this money, do you think, goes, Alex? I mean, it's just these companies are making money out of it. But so far, what they've done so far, they've only built like 10%, and these costs are going up every single day, and nothing's happening. This project has been going on for years now. And you know, Britain has got history, and even United States has got a history of infrastructure projects just failing, like the Californian high-speed rail in United States. That's failed as well due to cost. You know, people don't.
It's bad. But you know, I want to kind of reiterate my point here, is that we keep talking about, you know, America, they want this and they want that. They can want anything they want. Okay, sorry, guys, I've just put my camera back up here. Okay, one sec. Sorry. So let me get my camera, just change my battery on that. So one sec. But the Americans can want whatever they want. But the problem is that let's look at the logistics. Again, I keep going back to logistics, okay?
Sure. And just before you start, Alex, I want to just follow on from what I said. Like, to go from London to Birmingham will save you 20 minutes on the high-speed rail. But when China builds infrastructure, we're talking about Qingdao to Tibet, for example. They've got a high-speed rail line there. That saves days. You know, before it used to take days to go from there into Tibet. Now, you know, with that rail line, you can go, you know, and save days. And you know, that's the difference between infrastructure. You know, it's got to make a big difference to what your everyday lives. 20 minutes is not going to make a difference to anyone's lives, but days, you know, it will make a difference. Days, hours. You know, these high-speed rails that are linking all over China. You know, they are saving hours, even, you know, up to 8 hours they are saving. You know, these are tangible, you know, time they are saving, huge cost they are saving. But you know, it's just in the West is completely different. You know, we're
so
talking about...
let me try to put a fork in this argument. Not argument, sorry. Let me, not with you, but I'm just saying there's these people that get into these arguments about this military is bigger than that military, and this one spends more than that spends. Here's where I'm going to leave it on from my standpoint. You have a country here of 1.5 billion that has spent money on military, sure, which they're allowed to, you know, protect their citizens of their country. And then you have another country that is spending, you know, lots of money to try to build their military for the sake of peace around the world. And even with their support of what's been going on in the Russian and Ukraine situation, they still can't win there either, even though it's by proxy. They can't win that one either. Okay. So if you come up against a country like this one, you have to remember that outside these doors and in this country, there is a manufacturing country like you never fathomed. 90% of electronics today are made in Shenzhen, China, okay, which 40 years ago was a fishing village. You got the ports of Dalian. You've got Shanghai port, which is the eighth, just the port is the eighth largest economy in the world. You have 60,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. You have train lines. You have highways, motorways, tunnels, logistical lines that are all over this country that A, support the world and keep it ticking on a day-to-day basis. But imagine if it ever felt threatened, how fast this country could mobilize its people, its shores, its borders, its military, its manufacturing of weaponry if it needed to. Imagine how fast those factories can be converted. Try going to Detroit to turn some of those shambled, brick broken buildings with the better backed bankrupt investment there to try to get support to build arms in a short term. And remember that we always talk that we're concerned or people are worried about it coming to the shores here. You have to drag an entire military across the Pacific Ocean to the other side of the ocean to try to make your point. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even now, China is out making ships, out making airplanes. I mean, military airplanes. The J-20 is outpacing the F-35, the amount of planes that are coming out in China. There's more frigates and destroyers, aircraft carriers coming out in China more than what's in the United States. However, the United States military budget is like 5 times the size of China.
But
and
we just, yeah.
yeah, it's 5 times the size of China, but most of it is just feels like it's just wasted on military bases all over the world. They have like 800 military bases all over the world, and they probably spend half of that budget on these military bases. They spend a lot of, they seem to be wasting a lot of money. A lot of people in the top obviously make a quick buck. The shareholders. There's a story that I read that one particular defense company, just before Congress basically agreed for a bigger military budget for this year. So one particular defense company was basically sending out its people on private jets, flying all the way around the world. They were having parties. They were basically trying to spend all of that money before the next budget came along, because what they wanted to show was they spent all of that money and they needed a bigger budget for next year. And in order to do that, they were sending out their employees on private jets. They were like having parties. They were just finding ways to spend money on ridiculous stuff, just to make sure they secure the budget for the next year. Because one of the things about getting the same budget, the way the businesses work, if you have a budget and you don't spend all of it, if you don't spend all of it, your budget gets reduced for the next year. They said, oh, you didn't spend all of it this year, so maybe next year we can give you a lower budget. And that's how businesses work. But if you spend all of it, you can say to the shareholders, look, we've spent all the money, we need more. So this is how the businesses get more money for when it comes to budget and projects and things like that. And that's what they've been doing, just wasting a lot of money. I think they waste so much money goes on to like US guys suffering from PTSD and all sorts of stuff as well.
And what we're seeing here on the screen is I've listed, this is one of the videos I made a few weeks back, but it's showing that all the countries that America has been involved with, and to the date, I think that number 40 billion is over 100 billion now. And it's a comparison, one comparison of the military powers. But, there's a lot of people here that have also said, like, I'm reading a comment here that somebody said that that's great that China has manufacturing and infrastructure, but you need demand and that is pulling back. Good luck replacing that from Iran and the stands country. Well, actually, that's not a true comment. That's actually not true at all, if I'm reading that correct. Um, in fact, demand is actually growing from if you pay attention to the trade deficits, the actually Americans are actually buying more than they ever have from China. They're buying more from, I think Cyrus Jansen made a video yesterday that they're buying more from Xinjiang than they've ever have.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they have. Yeah.
that is not correct at all. I'm sorry, Rig. But you got to remember also, when you hear that you need demand, you got 1.4 billion people outside that door. If that's not demand, 4 or 5 times of US population, what is demand? Sure, it's not a bad position to be in. Would
I
you
mean,
want to be in a position of a country that is reliant on imports, 300 million and in debt to the tune of 30 some trillion plus? Or would you like to be in a country that has a 1.5 billion dollar for dollar infrastructure is well worth it, with a very growing, capable, and well educated society? I mean, the amount of education in this country is just mind blowing.
yeah, I just want to follow up as well. Basically, when you have an inflation going up 10, 20%, businesses, people will find ways to make money. They'll want to make profit because all business is all about making profit. So if you can save money, on imports, if you can save money on some way rather than others, you will do it. So right now with the inflation 10, 20%, it's much cheaper and easier to get products from China, especially right now you have a very, very high value of US dollar, but you've got a very low value of the Chinese yuan. So exports coming out of China is still going to be cheaper compared to what you would make within like USA or maybe within Europe. So people will still need Chinese products. They will still buy from China because it's so much cheaper. And every day, if USA decide to stop buying stuff from China or stop making things in China, nobody will accept it. The people will just go on strike. They will have riots in the street. Imagine if you want to buy a mobile phone and Apple say to you, oh, the cost of your mobile phone is now going to triple. So you're gonna have to pay £3,000-4,000 for this mobile phone because we're making it in USA. We're not making it in China anymore. No one's gonna stand for that. The cost of living is just gonna shoot up. Inflation is gonna go up 100%, 200%. So buying from China, that's still gonna happen. And this is why the stronger the American dollar gets, the more they will buy from China because it's cheaper. If you got a weak currency, your exports are cheaper, and this is why this trade deficit is getting larger and larger every single year. This trade war has failed by Trump. He wanted to reduce this trade gap, but in fact, it's getting bigger and bigger. So that's not working. It's not working, Alex.
Well, AJ, this week, I think I connected you with another YouTuber. Hopefully, you guys are going to have a live stream one of these days.
Yeah. So thanks for that. I was speaking to Guelo.
Yeah, great.
He seems like a great guy.
He's
Yeah.
got an opinion. he's a great guy to have a live stream with, and
Sure.
I'm sure his viewers on his channel, he has about 93,000 subscribers. I think that would be tremendous if you guys
Yeah.
could get together on a live stream as well. We have an interesting week coming up here. We've been in talks with a couple of channels. Been trying. I did get a hold of Patrick Lancaster 2 days ago. We tried to get a live stream with him and another group of gentlemen that are very well knowledgeable in the Russian situation here. But Patrick said the earliest that he can do a live stream is going to be Monday or Tuesday of next week because he's currently traveling. Get this, guys. He's currently traveling by road from Crimea all the way up to Kherson. So let's wish him a safe journey up there. That is going to be quite the. I don't know how he's going to do it. But anyway, yeah. Anyway,
He's a brave guy. I'll give him that. He's very brave, especially with everything going on in Kherson right now. It does seem to be a real hotspot at the moment. A lot of people are getting killed in Kherson.
Yeah. So let's see. I just want to say thanks to everybody that's come in from our Facebook page. Thank you. What a great turnout tonight. That has really showed up tonight. That's fantastic. My name, by the way, if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Alex. I'm here in the fantastic iChongqing, who has been amazing to work with here over the last year, doing lots of great collaborations, lots of videos. We got the Let's Talk China show coming back here very shortly, as well as we got some amazing stuff coming up in the next few weeks on e-cars and ecology. And there's so much stuff to talk about. And as well on my channel, Reporterfy Media. All the links are in the description. We also wanted to let you know that some of the other channels here, iChongqing actually just signed up for Rumble as well. And as AJ has a fair amount of followers over on the Rumble channel. So I think it would be good, as we call it, to place a bet on that channel as well, just in case something crazy happens to our channels, which I hope it doesn't, but you never know. You guys want to subscribe to all our channels. All the links are in the description. AJ, maybe you can drop a link to your Rumble in your chat group to your viewers. That would be great.
Yep.
And we can do that. And I think, coming up in the next week, it's going to be an interesting week here. I really think that we're going to see some changes coming up in the situations, because some of these economies are really pushed to the line here. Just look at the US stock market today again. The Dow Jones down 283 points. The S&P just barely holding on at 3850 mark handle on the S&P. I mean, she starts to dip below that. Got to remember, a lot of wealth is held up into that. A lot of the cryptocurrencies, I don't play those at all, but a lot of those have been smacked pretty hard here. And if this real estate market falls apart in the U.S., yeah, it's going to get pretty nasty. So Tammy says that she misses Guelo 60 in China. Don't worry, Tammy. I think him and AJ would be fantastic. AJ, have you ever watched him on live streams? He did a live stream from Canada last week. It was quite hilarious.
No, I missed it. No, I missed it. Well,
It was
I'll
quite
check it out.
hilarious. But I hope if you guys want to do a live stream, he likes to do the weekends. That's just and he can hog the mic like I can, AJ. So. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching the show today. I'm gonna pass it to AJ to pretty much say goodbyes to the audience and his last words that he wants to say. But that's it from me here in Chongqing, China. I'm going to hand over the mic to AJ. AJ, it's been a pleasure to share the screen with you for a couple hours again today.
Yeah,
Greatly appreciated. And yeah, you can chat with the audience. Here you go, sir. Take care.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Yep. Well, first of all, thanks to all the moderators out there. You guys are doing a great job. But yeah, thanks for everyone for tuning. Really appreciate you guys being here. You guys are very loyal. Most of you, I remember the names, see the same names almost every week. So it's very good. So it seems like, Alex, we just have a real loyal group. But unfortunately, YouTube doesn't seem to be pushing our channels out to get more people. We just get the same people all the time. But it's good. I appreciate what I have. So I can't really complain. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week, hopefully, and we'll talk about the more issues that happens around the world. So yeah, thanks guys, and thanks Alex.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Okay, guys, you guys take it easy, and yeah, we'll just play some video and a bit of music, and you guys could say goodbye to everybody in the chat there. Okay, how does that sound for you guys? Okay, I don't want to kill the stream because you guys want to say goodbye to the other people you're chatting with, not just us. Okay, guys, well, you take care. I'm going to put AJ behind the back screen there, and as well myself, and you guys take